with great energy. May our study be enlightening and not lead to discard. Our first plenary speaker will be Dr. Adislam Jenta, Assistant Professor in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Ambo University, Ethiopia. Dr. Jenta holds a PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University with research on energy efficient image processing and transmission in wireless multimedia sensor networks. He has served as Dean of Engineering and Technology Faculty and ICT Coordinator at Metu University and has worked as a design engineer with Ethiopian Electrical Power Corporation and as a consultant in engineering and technology. We welcome, sir. Our second speaker will be Sri Surya Sarthi Roy, heritage conservationist and researcher in TAC, New Delhi. He is a life member of INTAC and as an associate member of ICOMOS and UNESCO Advisory Board for Heritage Conservation. His research spans Indic history and cultural, including Brajmandal, Kurukshetra, Odisha, Jagannath temple traditions, Mewar and Maratha heritage. He actively works on preservation of ancient manuscript and documentation of heritage sites. Professionally, a supply chain and logistic expert with over 22 years of experiences, he uniquely bridges modern professional expertise with deep engagement in Indic civilization research. As Director of North India Corporations of IHR, he contributes to research and preservation of Indian knowledge system. Welcome, sir. Our third plenary speaker will be Professor Pragnesh Upendra Bhai Shah, Professor in the Department of Accounting and Financial Management at the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda. He has made significant scholarly contribution in sustainability, accounting, intellectual capital, financial performance analysis, and balanced scoreboard frameworks with numerous publications and presentations at National Academic Forum. Welcome, sir. Fourth plenary speaker will be Ms. R.N. K. Disanaike, which serves as Deputy Director in Sri Lanka and is associated with Heritage and Cultural Research Initiative. Her work focuses on preservation of traditional knowledge and interpretive framework applied to ancient South Asian traditions. Her scholarship contributes to comparative cultural study highlighting the role of oral and textual tradition in shaping regional civilization knowledge system. Welcome. Last but not the least, Dr. Ujjwal Kot Palsale will be our speaker. Founder, Samrachna Heritage Conservation and Research Initiative. She is a founder of Samrachna Heritage Conservation and Research Initiative and has worked extensively on architectural conservation and cultural documentation. Her scholarship highlights how built heritage, oral memory, and textual sources together shape cultural interpretation. Thank you, ma'am, for this coming for this session. Now I will hand over to our chairperson. Thank you, ma'am.
हम सब में विराजमान परम तत्व को मैं प्रणाम कर अब I bow my leg, my head to the Almighty God who is sitting in all of us. Namaskar. Start with because the time is running short. We have to be very quickly proceed for the session, and it was I think 1.5 hour session. Now it has come to 1 hour, and because I'm sorry to say, but the time is short, 5 to 10 minutes. So let us go. Rethinking tradition. I'm really grateful to the organizers that they have thought in this. What is the need? Rethink today. Why we feel the need for rethinking the tradition? Those who born in between 60s, 70s, or 50s, they have seen the old age also. We have seen those time where technology was not prominent. We have seen the traditional era also, and nowadays we are seeing our latest developments are technological. There is a paradigm shift. So when we run in one direction, sometimes we need a pause to think whether we are going in a right direction or not. This is a small process of rethinking today that we are going through. That whether the traditions are good or whether uh, we should leave the traditions and go forward, move forward. There are two aspects. Sometimes some facts are eternal facts. The truth cannot be changed. And likewise, our rishis, ancient saints, they were scientists and they have given so many paramparas to us, so many traditions to us, and they inculcated this scientific living into molded form with the religion. That's why it may penetrate to the illiterate people also, common people also. Nowadays, our children many a times ask, what is the scientific reason behind this traditions that you follow? We have to give them the scientific reason, then only they will believe. We are seeing the Gen Z and now Gen Alpha. They have moved very much forward than we think. So why this is a need of the time that we should think, we should take pause and think that our direction where we run, do we carry the old traditions or shall we sometimes some traditions we may drop down as per the need of the hour. Looking to the today's topic, orality, textuality, and hermeneutics. Uh, Introduction of the speakers is already done. This 2 days conference is aimed to discuss rethinking traditions. As we see in today's world, which is changing at very faster speed due to the technological development in 30 years. We are witnessing the paradigm shift in our traditions, our lifestyles, our way of thinking and behaving. There was not much change witnessed earlier in the age of our forefathers, where traditions were preserved. People used to live almost the similar lifestyle, used to follow religious traditions, age old practices, which were set by our forefathers. Practices, food practices, way of cat up, clothing practices, child rearing practices, and so many. Natural lifestyle, following the sun rhythm and early to rise and early to bed. These were the practices our forefathers used to follow always. The change was slower, but now in our generation, we have witnessed a great change. We have seen technological change, cultural mixing. The gap between Eastern and Western countries' culture has been minimalized now. The faster technological advancement has changed our lives drastically. Orality and textuality function as complementary mode of tradition with hermeneutics, that is interpretation. Bridging the gap between them to shape culture, orality emphasized performative, liquid, and communal transmission of knowledge in the form of stories, songs, slokas, etc. I don't think that there will be any single child in our Bharat Who doesn't know the story of Ramayana? These are oral traditions, though it is a written text. Valmiki ji have written the original text of Ramayana. It is in textual form, but yesterday we have seen the Ramayana, a little portion of Ramayana, Ram's marriage, wedding, and wedding thing. So these are the oral traditions that follow. The traditional knowledge is inserting transform then textual test. Textuality offers stability and linear analytical thought. Modern interpretation offer merges both, acknowledging that oral traditions hold immense, often overlooked authority in cultural context. Orality in tradition and culture, we as Indians, we call it Shruti and Smruti. Performance and memory. Oral tradition thrives on speech, song, and performance to pass down knowledge, myths, and history. Fluidity and context. Oral, non written communication allows for adaptation and re narration, making meaning context dependent and dynamic. Sometimes it changes the meaning in original context also. Cognitive difference. Our cultures often rely on experiential knowledge and possess a different cognitive framework than literate on. Textuality in culture, written texts that possess fixity and structure. Writing and print offer a permanent, fixed record which allows for different types of critical analysis compared to oral, ephemeral speech. It possesses authority. Textual traditions, like the holy text of all the religion, are often viewed as having an authoritative, fixed meaning, so they can be performed orally. Hermeneutics in context. Beyond the binary, modern scholarships challenges the idea that written text is superior to orality, advocating for a hermeneutics that integrates both. Performance as interpretation. In many cultures, the hermeneutics of orality means understanding that the meaning of tradition is found in its performance and communal engagement rather than just the words themselves. For example, there are many textual interpretations of Holy Gita Ji, Ramayana or Bible in textual form, but people used to perform it in dramatic form since generations. For example, Ram Leela is post-colonial contexts, reclaiming oral traditions is crucial in past. Colonial studies, example in Africa and in Caribbean, where colonial forces often deemed oral culture as inferior. In short, tradition is a living interaction between the oral world and the written text with hermeneutics serving as the mechanism for making that tradition meaningful in contemporary life. Thank you all. I may call now Eddie Salem Chenta, Assistant Professor, Ambo University, Ethiopia, for his lecture.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Adi Salem from Ambo University, Ethiopia, East Africa. And today I'll be presenting on the topic from oral tradition to digital text, reinterpreting Ethiopian manuscript culture in the age of artificial intelligence. As an introduction, basically Ethiopia is known as one of the ancient civilization in the world, like India. If you remember, 2 months ago, Prime Minister Modi ji came to visit first time to Ethiopia, and what he was telling was, these two nations are ancient civilizations in this world. So in Ethiopia, we have a lot of traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge, and manuscripts. And knowledge transmission has been evolving, like Madam Mam was saying now before me, oral performance, like with the spoken, chant, storytelling, and liturgy. And that evolved to written manuscript. Those oral traditions, knowledge were uh, recorded into textual forms, preserving them across the time and the space, just so that we are able to access them now. And that evolved to interpretive commentary. That means texts are explained, analyzed, and contextualized by scholars or religious leaders. But this time now, today, artificial intelligence is transforming preservation and interpretation. But the question here is that, how does artificial intelligence reshape textual authority and meaning making? Okay, this is a very critical question we need to address. When we see orality in Ethiopian tradition, we have many ancient transcripts and manuscripts, and we call Zema. Zema is a sacred chant system traditionally attributed to Saint Yared. He is a 5th century saint. Biblical passages and theological doctrines are using sung during liturgy. So this is the way knowledge was transmitted. Priests and scholars explain scripture verbally during services and teaching sessions. And clergy especially, they memorize large portion of liturgical text and chant styles. And this happens basically in students in the church schools. They learn through repetition, recitation, and guided performance rather than silent reading. So we have traditional, before the modern education comes to Ethiopia, just 50 years ago, we have the traditional schools. So the way students learn there is not by just reading, rather is just by repetitive way, they memorize everything. So in Ethiopia, we have different manuscripts. For example, like biblical texts, hygienographies, liturgical books, royal chronicles, traditional medicine, regarding indigenous knowledge regarding to medicine, agriculture, astronomy. We have many, many thousand years old manuscripts, and we consider them as sacred objects, not just like text. So when we comes to textual authority and hermeneutics, interpretation is mainly guided by clergy and scholars, traditional school leaders, and meaning shaped by meaning. The meanings of the text and the knowledge within the manuscripts are shaped by the oral exegesis and the ritual context. And basically, as Mom was also explaining, most of the manuscripts are now documented in text form, but they are transmitted and in the oral form. So the textuality and the orality, they reinforce and support each other in the knowledge transmission process. And authority is rooted in the traditional and community. That means legitimate interpretation basically is recognized through continuity with inherited tradition and acceptance with the faith community and not individual opinion alone. Now, when we come to this digital era, especially where we are, where there is an artificial intelligence for preserving this heritage. Number one, we have the AI-powered optical character recognition tool, and we are using in Ethiopia now just to, digitize these old manuscripts so that we can, keep them for long use, and automated transcription of handwritten texts, image recognition for classification, cataloging, and AI-based digital reconstruction of damaged manuscripts. There are very old ancient transcripts that are already damaged. So in order to restore this fade, torn, or missing selection digitally by predicting patterns from surrounding text and image. So this is where the digital technology is very much important. When we see from sacred object to digital archive, because this so far, these documents, these heritage, we call them we consider them as sacred objects. Now, when we digitize them, how does it looks like? For example, in the traditional model, they are sacred and they are a physical object. I mean, they are physically available. So they are reversed, they are accessed only through traditional leaders, ritual reading context. But when it comes to digital model, now they are easily searchable. They can be accessible from everywhere. Now they are becoming already digital. We can access them through our phones. All these traditional or manuscripts. So AI has brought all these advantages to us, but the challenge is who will ultimately interpret the text, the human scholars or the artificial intelligence algorithm? The very fundamental question we need to address. And can AI fully grasp the theological and the knowledge and the sacred meaning embedded in this script? So this is very challenging thing that we need to address. Actually, while using artificial intelligence or the modern technology for digitizing these manuscripts, there are different lots of challenges and risks. Number one is loss of ritual and sacred context, data ownership and digital colonialism. Okay, these manuscripts, they are most of the time available in monasteries, in churches in Ethiopia, and the owners are very well known. But now when they are digitized, there is a problem in terms of ownership, algorithm bias in terms of interpretation, over reliance on machine interpretation. Nowadays, most of us are relying on artificial intelligence tools, which is not absolutely true. So these are some challenges. But when we see reinterpreting manuscript culture, knowledge in Ethiopia basically traditionally moved from spoken orality to written manuscripts. But these days, we have the artificial intelligence, which is coming in middle as a middle layer, as a new layer, analyzing, digitizing, and interpreting texts. So we should not do AI to replace tradition. We have to involve ourselves, and the task ahead is going to be integrating artificial intelligence through thoughtfully, so it enhances preservation and accessibility, and maintain community engagement while leveraging digital innovation for scholarship and continuity. As a conclusion, what we need to do in the future, as artificial intelligence this time is very much important in across all sectors of our life, but in this case, it has to be ethical artificial intelligence. That means an artificial intelligence that respects the culture and religious values, and cultural sensitive. That means ensuring technology aligns with our traditions, whether Ethiopian tradition or Indian tradition, and human-centered hermeneutics has to be there. Interpretation has to be still guided by the people, the traditional leaders. Otherwise, there is a high possibility that the artificial intelligence tool will interpret wrongly the existing documents. I thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful insight from your country, Ethiopia. Now I would like to invite our second plenary speaker, Sri Surya Sarthi Roy, life member and researcher, Intact, New Delhi. Sir, that's good.
So, Sadar Pranam to all of you, and my sincere gratitude to ICCS and Guru Ghasidas Vishwavidyalaya for having me here. Uh, in the morning session, Mr. J. Nandakumar had very correctly spoken of preserving of what we already have. And I'm going to speak on such a tradition which resonates from our martial arts or rather military traditions But before going to the details of this, I will, in the interest of time, give you a very brief synopsis of what I'm going to speak about or try to reflect upon. So, this aspect of Shahi Jat, which is held in the temple town of Puri, actually finds its origin in the 12th century when the temple town of Puri was getting resurrected under the imperial Ganga dynasty. And as the temple was getting resurrected, the emperor, the Eastern Ganga emperor Anantavarman Chola Gangadev, had built few localities which are known as Shahis, and he had devised a mechanism to develop a force, a task force, which will be protecting the temple from the raiders. And this temple, incidentally, has history has it, has been seeing invasions after invasions between 12th century and early 17th century, sorry, 18th century. Now, what happened persistent to that, that these people who were selectively picked up, from the Shahis or each of the localities were trained in martial arts, wrestling, in the local akharas, okay? And the essence of the akhara culture actually even today is very strong in Puri and is a legacy which is coming on from 900 years now. And these people, these warriors, actually developed a process for their entertainment whereby during the Chaitra Navratra festival, they will enact street theaters starting from their Shahis or localities and culminate in front of the temples. They are going to contest between themselves, and these plays, as we rightly say, in reclaiming our civilizational heritage and maintaining our preservation of our, the ancient traditions, are enacted upon from our Mahakavyas. So the typical characters would be inspired from Ramayana or Mahabharata, and of course the divine feminine is also there. And having said that, the primary or the most sought after plays would be the Lanka Puri, or what is called the Hanumanji setting fire to the palaces of Ravana in Lanka. And interestingly, Ravana is a very revered character. Now, apart from that, as the akharas would typically have pan-India, Mahavir or Sri Hanuman is the presiding deity of these akharas, and the instruments that are being used during these plays are traditional instruments which has been in play since the last 9 centuries that we see today. But the interesting part is nothing of it is documented today, like typical of any intangible heritage in India. Much of it is still left over for documentation, and the assistants or the people or the performers have been carrying on this legacy from father to son, And another most astonishing fact is that many of the servitors or Sevaites of the temple are also a part of this enactment, which gives a very rich tapestry between temple traditions, martial arts, the cultural, socio-cultural aspect, and of course the, the community engagement, because these performers are heavily cheered and very lovingly cheered by the local crowd, and they come out in hundreds to cheer them. And when the procession comes, it comes with all kinds of elephants and, earlier the horses with torchlights and everything of it. Now, let's go. So these are a few characters which are most revered and popular. So from the from the right, you can see Mahadev, then Narasimha, and then obviously Ravana. These attires are called Medha in local language, which are made up of shola pit as we call it, and these are again traditionally carrying on for the last 100 years. So now coming to the summary of the talk, basically what we see, a continuity of traditional instruments and dress material, which I touched upon, a strong interlock between the martial and cultural outputs that we have seen, the Mahakavyas, as ma'am rightly said, the Mahakavyas constantly reinforced into the public memory through these acts, And let me tell you, these kind of street theater played historically a very critical role in holding on to our cultural heritage in times of invasions, both during the Islamic rules as well as the British colonial period. And especially given the fact that this temple has seen as many as 18 invasions between the Mughal Sultanate, Delhi Sultanate and Bengal Sultanate. A strong bond, as I said, between the Sri Jagannath culture and this. And another most outstanding fact which is not known to India, these traditions only had produced a warrior like Chaki Khuntia, who went on to become one of the key commanders of Maharani Lakshmi Bai during the Sepoy Mutiny, commanding 3,000 horsemen. He was caught by the British, not hung, but put in the jail and later came out to serve the temple traditions again. What is the way forward? The way forward, as I personally see, is of course government assistance, and with organizations like ICCS, which has now come into play, I see a lot of leveraging which should happen right now. The second is documentation. Documentation is the first step to protect, preserve and conserve and even propagate these kind of intangible cultural heritage. The third is inclusion into the UNESCO list of tentative, at least the tentative list of intangible cultural heritage, given that it is a 900-year-old tradition which is surviving. And then finally, today the performers perform within the temple town of Puri. They have to go out to the global platform so that the world comes to know about such a rich and complex tradition which has survived the test of time and truly is a harbinger of our cultural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your insight about this tradition at Intech. And also, I'd like to thank about your timely completion of. Now, I'd like to invite our third guest speaker, Professor Pragnesh Saji.
Respected Chair Professor Nilambriben Daveji, Co-Chair Sri Nitin Agrawalji, my co-panelists, and all the participants as well as students, researchers, and academicians. Why we are discussing this topic too? Question arises normally in our mind. If we look at the history across the globe, from last more than 1,000 years, what India is experiencing, and almost every country has experienced the same thing. Whenever some foreigners have got victory over any country, to save or to have their political agenda implemented, to glorify their present or their personalities, to write history of the winners, to destroy the historical facts with political minds. For all these reasons, they have tried to amend, they have tried to edit, they have tried to modify the culture, the traditions, and what is the origin of that country. And India is also experiencing the same thing from last about 1,000 years. When collective memories eroded, manipulated, or devalue past is called as historical amnesia, it is further strengthened by lack of education or biased curriculums. This is what we are also experiencing, and in this line only, Bharat is converted to India. This results in society to forget about their past, their roots, and their culture. This makes introduction of imported superficial values and external values, adding in the loss of cultural diversity. In such a situation, power holders or winners have manipulated the society by altering the past to justify their present. So, this has resulted in loss of cultural values, and when society loses the cultural values and their identity, then that will be considered as dead society without soul. So society without culture, without original thoughts, is considered as a dead body without soul. Bharat has experienced this number of times. To ruin our culture, to change our traditions, to manipulate our idols, to manipulate our original values and persons or our heroes, we can say. Our libraries were looted, universities broken, and idols, symbols, values, etc. were also tried to vanish from the society. So all this resulted in change in our rituals, change in our ideals, and that's why today we believe what is Western is best, West is best. Whatever comes from them, that is best, that what we consider, because we have forgotten our original values, our original culture. It is like a continuous, so culture is like a continuous flowing river with pure and sweet water. So our culture, our traditions today lives with some non-written scripts. One of them is Mahakumbh. If you look at the Mahakumbh, then people from the globe visits Mahakumbh. Crores of people are coming there. Peacefully they are enjoying that Mahakumbh, and we have also added technology to this cultural festival. So culture and technology meets there in Mahakumbh. The second thing is, when we talk about rituals, when we talk about traditions, then we always learn our tradition without any script, without any written document from our parents, from our grandfather, grandmother. A small girl learning how to enjoy Diwali, what to do in Diwali, what to do in Raksha Bandhan. So all these are the non-written document, we can say, or practices which keeps our cultural life, which keeps our traditions alive. In between, number of times, number of attempts made to ruin our social belief. One of them was Ghungat. Ghungat is considered that it is something which is not in favor of women, which is considered as dark spot of our society, of our culture. But never it is presented like it is a ancient Indian practical tool to oppose the exploitation of women from some Muslims or some outsiders. We never reply them who says that this is the dark spot. We never reply them that you visit any temple, you visit Ajanta Ellora caves, you visit any such place, you will not find a single woman with gungat there. So our culture was not such a close culture. We have most highest respect for the woman in our society. This part was tried to remove from our life, tried to make us believe that no, our society is exploiting women, exploiting ladies. Another thing here, we can say that dharma and religion, when it comes to or shifting the perspective of traditions from ritual to values, primary goal of so whenever culture is damaged, some outsiders, some political minds try to change the traditions, try to impose new ideals, try to focus on new heroes as per their definition. It always destroys our culture, our tradition. But at that time, non-written, these scripts, we can say non-written, these values or non-written practices, which are keeping our traditions, our culture live. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening me peacefully.
Thank you very much, sir, for enriching us with different tradition and culture across pan India. Uh, I would like to invite next speaker, Ms. R.N.K. Dishanaike, Deputy Director, Sri Lanka. Please, ma'am. Please give her a huge round of applause. Sorry for interruption. We'll take a few minutes to start the screen for PowerPoint presentation. Ma'am, you can, I will call you. Sorry for interruption. Once again, we are here. We are ready. Ma'am, again, I would like to invite. Please come.
Ayubowan, Namaskar. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rasika Niranjala Kumari Disanayaka, representing Sri Lanka, and I am doing my PhD in Education, Department of Education in University of Delhi. And I am working as the Deputy Director of Education, Zonal Education Office, Nicavarati. Today, I am going to present my study title, First Language, Decolonizing the First Learning in Early Stage of Education, a case study of Sri Lanka. Summary contents and introduction. Early childhood education, we all know, is the most critical stage of human development. It shapes language, thinking, identity, and values. Yet Sri Lanka does not have proper comprehensive national policy for early childhood education. As a result, the system is fragmented and increasingly market-driven. In 1833, with the Colebrook-Cameron reform, English was introduced to the education system of Sri Lanka, marginalized our mother tongue. Today, nearly 52% early childhood practices are English dominate, often at expenses of the child's mother tongue. This is not just a language shift. It is a shift in identity, cultural, and our education purpose. Next, historical background. Before colonial rule, Sri Lanka has a good education system such as a Guru Gedara and Pirivenam. Home-based and temple-based were community-based. They focused on moral values, social responsibility, and holistic development. Next, colonial waves. Sri Lanka has experienced 3 colonial rules: Portuguese, Dutch, and British, who controlled trade and governance. Their rule greatly influenced the country's religion, legal system, economy, and education. The turning point came during British rule, particularly after the 1833 Colebrook-Cameron reform. English medium instruction became dominant and education shifted from character building to administrative training. Over time, English became linked to social mobility, while indigenous knowledge and language were marginalized. This colonial legacy continues to shape early education today. These are my methodology. I am not going through my methodology. This was a qualitative study. Data was collected after analyzing education policy, documents, annual reports of MOE on ECE, and then structured interviews were held with 60 practitioners from 20 selected preschool were interviewed, and I used purposive sample, and you can see 10 rural, 10 urban preschools, and collected data was analyzed through descriptive and thematic analysis. Some are my key findings. From the policies that were analyzed, the role of English of the education system as well as in the country. From the Colebrook-Cameron reform in 1833, you can see it. English was introduced for the education system. And then after that, independence in 1948, English was fully marginalized by the Sinhala Only Act. Then once again in 1987, 30th Amendment reintroduced English as a linked language. And finally, National Education Policy introduced bilingual education, where English is introduced as a language of employability and digital literacy. The finding shows a clear imbalance. You can see English dominates early childhood education 52%, and mother tongue instruction remained low 20%. And the children are more exposed to Western content 56%, than local folklore 25%, or traditional games 19%. Modern early education is formal and academically driven, which commercialize learning and weakens cultural identity. When it comes to educators' response, we can see in terms of parental language demand, student language preference, and teaching materials. English significantly dominates our mother tongue, and it has become a language of choice. This is my recommendations. To address this problem, I propose a national early childhood education policy built on a mother tongue. And first, Sinhala or Tamil must be the primary language of instruction between age 3 to 5, and English should be introduced through play-based exposure. Formally integrate to curriculum storytelling, folk songs, and traditional games into the curriculum, and the practices support children's social, moral, and motor development. Next, encourage culturally responsive environment in early childhood education in terms of teacher training, market regulation, and family engagement. I am going to wind up my presentation. To move forward, we need culturally responsive teacher training and strong state regulation to prevent excessive commercialization. And decolonization is not rejecting global engagement, it is about restoring balance. references, and thank you very much for all.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for enlightening us with the modern and traditional culture of Sri Lanka. Thank you once again. Last but not the least, our last speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Ujjwala Khot Palsale, founder, Samrachna, Heritage Conservation and Research Initiative.
Good afternoon, everyone. Namaskar. Respected chair, co-chair, distinguished speakers on and off the dais, and research scholars present for this conference. At the outset, I would like to thank the university for inviting me to present my work. I'll be specifically talking about beyond the written word, oral epistemologies, textual authorities, and I'll be focusing majorly on meaning making in the temple traditions. We live in an era which believes that knowledge lies in books, bound volumes, catalogued archives, digitized manuscripts, peer-reviewed journals. So modernity has trained us to equate legitimacy with text. If something is not written, printed, catalogued, archived, we treat it as secondary. It is less reliable, less serious, or less important for us. This way of thinking did not emerge innocently. There is a modern bias towards this text. What happens here is many Western scholars have already established why archives are important, how they shape what we consider as knowledge. What preserved in architecture or the writing becomes the official history of that place. And often which is not recorded or written disappears from the larger view of the scholarship. So what happens when we study the civilizations which are not bound by the limited text or limitations of the text? What if the knowledge that we perceive is always spoken, performed, remembered, and built? This is where temple tradition becomes very important. In Indian tradition, temples or the overall knowledge systems were mostly oral. We know about the Veda. Knowledge were perceived through memory, through repetition, through rhythm, through discipline. And as soon as we understand this, the whole objective of looking at temples changes. We start looking at temples more subjectively. They emerge from the culture where sound, rhythm, and memory becomes center of the knowledge. So then it doesn't remain as a building. They talk to us. They give more information with respect to the whole civilizational knowledge. Temples are planned according to the sacred geometry. They have a Vastu Purusha Mandala as its base. They have a science behind constructing these temples. They have orientation followed by the cardinal directions. They have proportions which follow the precise dimensions, structure which reflects the cosmic order, so on and so forth. And as we move around the temples, we walk around the temples, we move towards the Garbhagriha, we look upward to the Shikhara, and that is where the meaning of temple starts unfolding. We do not simply visit a temple, we actually take darshana of the temple or we experience the temple. India has produced lot of text. We have lot of temples across north, south, east, west, and we have regional texts also. So we have Agamas, Shilpa Shastra, Samarangan Sutradhar, and all of it. However, Indian traditional knowledge seekers never limited it to text. The Sthapatis never relied on the manuscripts. They relied on training, memory, and inherited knowledge which has been passed from generations to generations. So text and practice were not separate. They were always supporting each other. Let us talk about Ayodhya. When we talk about Ayodhya, it is not about that sacred structure, one structure. It is that whole landscape which makes it a sacred landscape. River Sharayu, the processional routes, the festivals, the overall journey of Prabhu Sri Rama from Ayodhya to the southern part also gets celebrated while we celebrate this sacred geography. Let's now move to the southern part of India, which is Brihadeshwara temple at Tanjavur. Constructed in 1010 CE by Rajaraja Chola, this is the temple which is mostly celebrated for its engineering marvel, and that is how all the Western authors explain it. The tall vimana rising above the Garbhagriha is not only immersive, it represents accent, order, cosmic alignment. The walls of these temples are engraved with series of inscriptions. They have detailed records of grants for festivals, donations, and all of it. This tells us something very important. It tells us that this is not just a temple, it is an economic center, it is a cultural institution, it is a place of learning, it is a political symbol in which the king has placed the authority into the sacred framework. He aligned political power with divine order. So Brihadeshwara, not just this architectural piece, it organizes the society in a way which derives through the architectural manifestation. So here, stone becomes the administration, the ritual becomes the governance, and space itself becomes the way of structuring life of society. So if we look at these temples only as the manifestation of art, we miss the deeper integration of these meanings. Now let's cross the borders and go to Angkor Wat, which is in Cambodia. This is a 12th century structure. Even today, it is nominated as a World Heritage Site as the largest religious precinct in the world. The layout reflects the idea of Mount Meru. It is a cosmic mountain at the center of the cosmic ocean, and this moat represents the cosmic ocean. But this is not a simple copy of Indian model of temples. Ramayana and Mahabharata are carved on the walls of this temple. They are expressed in Khmer style of architecture or expression. Sanskrit coexists along with Khmer. This shows us something very meaningful. Ideas traveled across borders. However, they are not just copied, but they are adapted in their own indigenized way of working. So knowledge moved across the ocean, but not only through text, but it went with people. So because knowledge was not defined or confined to the text, it could be created across many regions of Southeast Asia. So Angkor Wat shows us that civilizations can travel when the knowledge is carried in memory, practice, and not just the manuscript. A temple is incomplete without a ritual, and that is what has happened over a period of time. We walk clockwise in the temple premises, we take pradakshina, circumambulation, we align ourselves with the cosmic order. And as we reach to the Garbhagriha of the temple, we actually take darshana of the deity, and that is the moment of connection with the deity and the larger cosmos. So festivals renew all of this together. They renew all the energies, and they renew all the connections of a human being with the larger cosmos. So what is the modern interpretation of temples? During colonial era, the sculptures were catalogued, the temples were documented. This is a very popular word of documentation, and all of it is documented as per the Western understanding of temples. And that is where we lose on much of data which is embedded in rituals, in people's memory, in civilizational memory of temples. So what is the way forward? We should not create a simple opposition between oral or written tradition. There should not be a stringent line between these two temple traditions. Indian civilization always worked together. So sound shaped text, text guided architecture, and architecture then structured the memory of people. So I hereby propose four-stepped model for for future generation. So first is to treat the oral tradition as equally important as the sources of knowledge, other sources of knowledge. Study temples not as art, but ideas expressed in stone. Engage with practitioners which are knowledge bearers or knowledge holders of these temples. These are priests, these are sthapatis, these are local people who have been using these spaces for generations together. And then we need to understand the sacred geography. Instead of just looking at them as temples or structure, we need to place them in the larger sacred landscape and understand how this whole synergy of temple works. So, ancient tradition didn't ask whether the knowledge should be written, spoken, or built. They assumed it must be all of these three together. If knowledge exists only in books, it will be lost. If it is in memory, ritual, architecture, it endures. Temples are not simply remnant of past, they are living systems of knowledge. So to move beyond the written word, it is not to reject the text. However, it is to recognize that civilizations remember in many ways. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for enriching us with a real visualization of different temples, traditions, and culture of India. I once again thank you all the speakers for enriching us with varied contributions. I now request our co-chair, Dr. Agrawal sir, to come for the final conclusion, final remark of this session. Sir.
Namaskar. First of all, as the director of ICCS Foundation, I should congratulate the university and the whole team for organizing such a wonderful event. So I think we should all give a round of applause to the organizers. Especially special applause to the Vice Chancellor of the university. So, yes, it has been some very interesting plenary sessions and topics. If I talk about this plenary session, orality, textuality and hermeneutics. तो इसका तो एक मोटा मोटा जो मतलब है हम सबको पता ही होगा, लेकिन फिर भी मैं जस्ट क्विकली, चूंकि मेरे को समराइज करने के लिए बोला गया है, हमारे जितने भी लर्नड स्पीकर्स हैं उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे से इस विषय को रखा है, तो I just summarize it. Orality basically means कि it is like a written, कुछ भी जो भी बोला गया, चाहे वो लैंग्वेज हो, चाहे वो डांस परफॉर्मेंस हो, चाहे वो ट्रेडिशनल एस्पेक्ट्स हो, जो वर्बल होता है उसको फॉलो करते करते एक ट्रेडिशन फॉलो करते हैं, दैट इज ओरैलिटी. टेक्सचुअलिटी उसको एक किसी कहीं ना कहीं किसी ग्रंथ में, कहीं पे रिटन फॉर्मेट में हमें मिल गया, या कहीं पे कहीं दीवारों पे लिखा पाया गया, कहीं उसके चित्र मिल गए, ऐसे करके तो वो टेक्सचुअलिटी हो गया. और हर्मेनोटिक्स जो हो गया वो बेसिकली इट्स मोर ऑफ ए बिब्लिकल टर्म, बाइबल से निकाला गया है इसको, कि जो इंटरप्रिटेशन है जो बाइबल में, और हम जो लोग यहाँ पे जो लर्नड लोग बैठे हैं, हम अपने ग्रंथों का इंटरप्रिटेशन करते हैं, उससे अपने टेक्स्ट का इंटरप्रिटेशन, हाउ वी डू hermeneutics, the branch of knowledge that deals with the interpretation, how we perceive it. I think all of you did a very commendable job in perceiving what exactly is needed. There were suggestions. The chairperson, Professor Dambari Daveji, she has to leave because she had some other function to attend. So what she basically said is that the children should be treated and should be given scientific reasons why we are following the tradition. So I think gave a challenge and onus to our learned professors ki can we create some scientific reasons why we should follow the tradition, जिससे कि हमारे बच्चे उसको एक्सेप्ट करें. वो जेन जी की बात कर रही थी और वो ये कह रही थी कि अगर जेन जी को हमें स्वीकार करवाना है अपने ट्रेडिशंस को, अपनी ये सारी हेरिटेज को, जो कि बहुत खूबसूरत है, तो हम क्या उसके कुछ साइंटिफिक वो तरीके से उसको प्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं. डॉक्टर आदिसलाम जेंटा फ्रॉम इथियोपिया of course mentioned that Ethiopia is an ancient civilization. He mentioned about our own Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who was 2 months before in Ethiopia, also mentioned Ethiopia as an ancient civilization. We do acknowledge that for sure. And he suggested the use of artificial intelligence, I believe, right? So that the manuscripts can be digitized, and lot of things which is what we call orality, textuality, all that can be made into advanced digitization. So I think it's a good suggestion, and ICCS will also take note of it. Dr. Shaurya Sarthi Roy, yes, he also suggested certain things that कुछ अच्छे चित्र दिखाने चाहिए. There should be paintings, there should be, I think, diagrams or graphics, and need some more documentation. He of course mentioned कि जो orality होती है वो हमारे यहाँ जो स्पेशली चर्चा होती है ये हम लोग उसको बहुत अच्छे से डिपिक्ट करते रहे हैं अपने ट्रेडिशंस में. आई थिंक ही वाज शोइंग सम ऑफ दीज वेरी पावरफुल पिक्चर्स जो कि मंदिरों में जो लोग ड्रेस पहनते हैं या जो एक अनेकों तरह के वहाँ पे प्रेजेंटेशंस, डांस परफॉर्मेंसेस होती हैं, उन सब का जो प्रेजेंटेशन है वो सब ये शो करता है कि कितनी पावरफुल वो प्रेजेंटेशन है. अगर उसको हम प्रॉपरली टेक्स्ट कर लें और उसको तो इंटरप्रिटेशन में कोई दिक्कत होने वाली नहीं. इसी तरह से प्रोफेसर प्रज्ञेश शाह ने ऑलमोस्ट ही प्रेजेंटेड द सिमिलर वर्जन अबाउट ओरैलिटी. उन्होंने एक घूंघट प्रथा के बारे में एक विशेष तौर पर उन्होंने स्पेसिफिकली बोला और उन्होंने कहा कि घूंघट एक हमारे कल्चर का डार्क स्पॉट है. और बहुत सही बोला प्रोफेसर साहब ने कि ये कभी भी हमारे ट्रेडिशन का पार्ट नहीं था. लेकिन अभी देखते हैं तो बड़े पैमाने पर महिलाएं एक सर्टेन पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया में घूंघट करती हैं. उसका कारण भी यही था कि जो मुगल्स आए या विदेशी आक्रांत आए और उन्होंने महिलाओं के साथ दुराचार या दुर्व्यवहार किए, उससे बचने के लिए उन्होंने घूंघट को अपनाया, जबकि घूंघट सामान्यतः हमारी प्रथा में नहीं था. तो ये कभी एक बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट उन्होंने रेस किया कि कहीं ऐसे कल्चर से मिस रिप्रेजेंटेशन ना हो जाए, तो इसलिए उसको भी समझने की जरूरत है. श्रीलंका से आई हमारी मेहमान डॉक्टर दिशा नाइके, आरएन के दिशा नाइके. Of course, she mentioned about how we can make a good education system based on temples, society education, and community bonding. I think it's a very good suggestion. And in former times, she mentioned in Sri Lanka, before the colonial rules, they were having the same type of system there in Sri Lanka, which were helping the society to carry forward all the culture and tradition. Am I right? And so she suggested that we should have a national childhood policy based on the mother tongue, jahan pe bhi, wherever they are living in Sri Lanka, in India, or wherever, so that, and of course, English can be part of that because that's more a language of business in these days. But other words, that's what the proposal from Ms. Disa Naike. Thank you so much for your proposal. And then Dr. Ujjwala Khot Palsule, of course, she presented a very good presentation with how we can treat oral traditions also as equally important. So she showed some of the examples on the screen to carry forward that. I think ये सब आज हमारा ये जो सेशन था उसका ये सार है. समय तो कम है, ये बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग सेशन है और मुझे लगता है कि वक्ता बहुत बोलना चाहते थे, लेकिन we have I think 2 more or so. Yes, we from ISIS will carry forward these types of seminars. We will carry forward some of these programs that I can assure you, and we will disseminate this knowledge, whether it is in orality, textuality, or hermeneutics. We will definitely do that. Thank you so much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir, for your final concluding remark on this for this session, plenary session 8. Now we are moving towards the conclusion. So we wish to express our gratitude through a small token of more appreciation For that, I would like to request one by one our professors to felicitate our guests. So I request Professor Ambuday sir to present a memento to our co-chair, Dr. Nitin Agarwal ji. Sir. I would like to invite Professor Anupma ma'am. Please ma'am. Anupma ma'am is not there. Pratibha ma'am. Professor Pratibha J. Misra ma'am to felicitate our plenary speakers. Please ma'am. To felicitate our first plenary speaker, Dr. Adislam Jenta. I would like to invite Dr. Professor Prasenjit Panda to felicitate Professor Pragnesh Shah. Next, I would like to invite Amit Gupta sir to felicitate Miss R.N.K. Disha Naike. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Amit Devangan to felicitate Dr. Ujjola. Dr. Ujjola ma'am. So as a tradition, now as a moderator, I have to give vote of thanks. So respected chairperson, Professor Nilamri R. Dave, ma'am, esteemed co-chair, Dr. Nitin Agarwal ji, distinguished plenary speakers and valued participants. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all. Sorry. Extremely sorry. Please felicitate Mr. Surya sir. I would announce my name itself.
Sir, our pandas are B.
I will continue my vote of thanks. Once again, on behalf of the organizing committee, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all our eminent speakers for their insightful and enriching deliberations that illuminated the profound relationship between orality, textual traditions, and humanistic meaning making across the culture. I express my deepest appreciation to our honorable chairperson, Professor Nilamri Dave ma'am, for her inspiring academic leadership and scholarly guidance throughout the session. I also sincerely thank our co-chair, Dr. Nitin Agarwal ji, for his presence and continued commitment to preserving cultural and knowledge tradition. I conclude with this universal invocation for collective learning, that is Sarve Bhayanti Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kasit Dukh Bhagavad. With this, I formally conclude this plenary session 8. Thank you all for your gracious presence and participation. Thank you once again. Thank you all. One group photo, sir. Just wait. Sir, Nitin sir, for group photo. We need one group photo.
Good evening, everyone. We will now immediately start with plenary 9. We'll just take 2 minutes to set up the stage and then.
बस हम कुछ ही क्षणों में अगला सेशन शुरू करने जा रहे हैं। ओके जी, कुछ लोगों को मैं देख पा रही हूँ। मैं निवेदन करूंगी कि क्या हमारे बीच श्री एम दिवाकर जी हैं, आचार्य कृष्णानंद सागर जी, प्रोफेसर जगदीश कुमार जोशी जी, श्री जगदीश पटेल जी, श्री प्रदीप कुमार गुप्ता जी, प्रोफेसर पवित्रा भारद्वाज जी, प्रोफेसर प्रवेश भारद्वाज जी। अगर ये सब यहाँ हैं तो हम अपना ये सत्र शुरू करते हैं। मैं अनुरोध करूंगी प्रोफेसर पीके वाजपेयी सर से, वाइस चांसलर जेपी यूनिवर्सिटी। सर प्लीज़ आप मंच पर अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें। सर का बहुत स्वागत मैं करती हूँ। मोस्ट वेलकम सर। को चेयर के रूप में हमारे बीच हैं श्री एम दिवाकर जी। सर मैं आपका भी अभिनंदन करती हूँ, कृपया आप मंच पर आएं। आचार्य कृष्णानंद सागर जी, आपसे भी मेरा अनुरोध है कि कृपया मंच पर आएं। सर की तबीयत थोड़ी ठीक नहीं है, शायद वो बाद में आएंगे। प्रोफेसर जगदीश कुमार जोशी सर, प्लीज़ आप आएं मंच पर। बहुत स्वागत है सर आपका। श्री जगदीश पटेल जी, प्रांत संयोजक स्वदेशी जागरण मंच, आपका बहुत स्वागत है सर इस मंच पर। कृपया अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें। प्रोफेसर पवित्रा भारद्वाज मैम हमारे बीच आ चुकी हैं। मैडम प्रिंसिपल हैं कमला नेहरू कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली में। और मैं आमंत्रित करती हूँ प्रोफेसर प्रवेश भारद्वाज जी को, इतिहास विभाग से हैं, बनारस हिंदू यूनिवर्सिटी से। आपका भी सादर अभिवादन है कि आप मंच पर आएं। हम शुरू करते हैं। सबसे पहले आप सबका इस सभागार में स्वागत है। गुरु घासीदास विश्वविद्यालय की तरफ से मैं सबका स्वागत करती हूँ। और मंचासीन जो हमारा सम्मानित मंच है उसके प्रति भी मैं अपना अभिवादन प्रकट करती हूँ। आप सबने देखा होगा कि पिछले 2 दिनों से हम रीथिंकिंग ट्रेडिशन पर चर्चा कर रहे हैं और इस चर्चा के दौरान हम कई कोणों से, कई बिंदुओं से अपने इस ट्रेडिशन को समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं और साथ ही साथ जो दूसरे देशों की संस्कृतियां हैं उनको भी समझने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं। आज का यह जो प्लेनरी सेशन है जो 9वें नंबर का है, आप देख पा रहे होंगे कि इसमें एक से बढ़कर एक दिग्गज विराजमान है। मैं आप सबका स्वागत करती हूं और उम्मीद करूंगी कि आप सब करतल ध्वनि के साथ स्वागत प्रदर्शित करें। आज की जो थीम है डीकोलोनियलिटी, एपिस्टेमोलॉजी एंड पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ नॉलेज, यानी जो औपनिवेशिक मुक्त ज्ञान मीमांसा है और ज्ञान की राजनीति है, इससे मिलते जुलते या इसके स्तर के कितने कोण हो सकते हैं, इस पर चर्चा करने के लिए ये आज विद्वत सभा विराजमान है। मैं चेयर प्रोफेसर पी.के. वाजपेयी सर की अनुमति प्राप्त करना चाहती हूँ कि अगर वो हमें अनुमति प्रदान करें तो हम यह सेशन शुरू करें। सबसे पहले मैं आप कह सकते हैं कि मुख्य वक्तव्य के लिए या मुख्य बातों के लिए इस पूरे सत्र की अध्यक्षता कर रहे प्रोफेसर पी.के. वाजपेयी सर को आमंत्रित करूंगी कि सर आएं और अपना शुरुआती दौर का वक्तव्य दें। इसके बाद मैं यह पूरी चर्चा सर को हैंडओवर कर दूंगी। आदरणीय सर।
इस सत्र में मंचासीन सभी सम्मानित नेतागण और मेरे सामने हॉल में बैठे हुए, लगभग अंतिम सत्र है और इतने लोग बैठे हुए हैं, इसके लिए आप सभी का अभिनंदन। इस सत्र में बहुत विशिष्ट चर्चा में हम सब शामिल होंगे और बिना किसी भूमिका के epistemology and politics of this narrative has been the biggest challenge. And I start with two anecdotes. Many of you remember the book published in 2005 by Angus Madison. Angus Madison was a economics from Britain, and he was given a project called the Millennium Perspective, how the economy of various states fluctuated during the last 2000 years, from 0 CE up to 2000 CE. And this book is available on internet. Many of you must be knowing, so I will not go into the detail. But that tells you that out of these 2000 years, Asia remained the champion of economics for 1800 years, out of 2000 years, and out of which India alone remained the world superpower for 1500 years. From 0 CE up to 1500 AD, India was having a share of something like 47% of the world economy. And this declined with the growth of China from 1500 up to 1800, and both of them, they were having roughly 50% of the world economy share, 47% to be exact. From 1800 up to 1835, when the Macaulay model of education was introduced, and when the Britishers first time they had a survey of Indian education system in 1821-22. Then onward, this decay started, and when we got freedom in 1947, we had the world economy share of around 2%. So this journey from 73% up to 2% is the journey of not only economic decline, but the decline of ourself. हमारा जो स्व था, हमारी जो आइडेंटिटी थी, इस आइडेंटिटी में डिक्लाइन के लिए there was a politics, and this politics started with the best education center of Europe, and with the three most renowned person of that time, William Jones, Max Muller, and so on. And now we know very well how this narrative of Aryan invasion, this was built up on certain scientific pillars. One of them happens to be the anthropogenic. Second happens to the linguistic. And the third happens to be the dominance of science and technology. इन तीनों चीजों को इतने बेहतरीन तरीके से गढ़ा गया, और आज ये फैक्चुअल हमारे सामने नैरेटिव है कि मैक्स मुलर को हर साल $1 लाख दिए जाते, $1 लाख दिए जाते थे to create this narrative. I'm not saying this is a story. And this narrative that there was a Proto-European language from there the Sanskrit was originated, and then ये जो यूरोपियन इंडो लैंग्वेजेस का सारा नैरेटिव गढ़ा गया कि स्टेपी के मैदानों से यूरोपियंस आए, उनके पास रथ था, उनके पास पहिए थे, उनके पास टेक्नोलॉजी थे, एंड देन दे ruined the Mohenjo-daro civilization or the so-called Sindhu civilization, forgetting that there are 50,000 plus sites starting from the Himachal up to the Balochistan where the civilization was spread for thousands of years. And this fact came in Rakhi Gadi, when our friend Vasant Sinde, Neeraj Rai and their team, they started the excavation from 2005, and this was done by the way students of Deccan College under the leadership of Vasant Sinde ji. And when we got बहुत सारे लोगों को नहीं, बच्चों को पता होगा, वहां हमको 69 महिलाओं के शव मिले थे उस उत्खनन में राखी गढ़ी के तीसरे टीले से, और उन सबों का हम डीएनए नहीं ले पाए थे अनफॉर्चुनेटली, क्योंकि हमारे पास टेक्नोलॉजी उतनी डेवलप नहीं थी। जब हमने हैदराबाद में सीसीएम भी उस समय इस्टेब्लिश किया और लालजी सिंह ने जब डीएनए टेस्टिंग शुरू किया, तब आखिरी एक जो शव मिला उसका डीएनए हम निकाल पाए। और उसकी नीरज राय ने जब लखनऊ में जेनोमिक स्टडी की और 3 पेपर जूलॉजी बॉटनी के जो लड़के यहाँ बैठे होंगे उनको पढ़ना चाहिए, सेल में छपे हैं ये तीनों पेपर 2016, 2017, 2018 में, और 2018 में इतिहास का पुनर्लेखन शुरू होना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमने ये प्रूव किया जेनोमिक स्टडी से ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ वेरी वेल नोन फैक्ट्स दैट द G8 इज प्रेजेंट एवरीवेयर इन इंडिया, which is the characteristic gene of Indianness and which was present in Rakhi Gadi. वो जो महिला का हमको बॉडी मिली थी वो 7000 वर्ष पुरानी है, यानी जो सभ्यता हमको 3000 साल से सिखाई गई थी मोहनजोदारो की, इट पुश्ड बैक अप टू 7000 जस्ट बाई वन उत्खनन राखी गढ़ी। उसके बाद बहुत सारे उत्खनन हुए हैं। अभी हम लोग चिरांद पे फोकस कर रहे हैं। चिरांद इज ए प्लेस इन बिहार एट द संगम ऑफ सरयू, गंगा एंड सोन, और उसमें हमको नवपाषाण काल के लगभग 7000 वर्ष पुराने बहुत सारी चीज़ें मिली हैं। उसके पहले उत्तर प्रदेश की जो साइट्स हैं, लोहरदगा की है, और बिहार की आगे साइड जो वैशाली की है, वहाँ भी नवपाषाण काल कनेक्ट हो रहा है। नाउ दिस इज़ द फर्स्ट टाइम इन द हिस्ट्री कि नवपाषाण काल के अवशेष हमको मैदानों में मिल रहे हैं, वो भी गंगा और यमुना के मैदानों में। यानी देयर इज ए कनेक्टेडनेस इन द हिस्ट्री विद द सिंधु सरस्वती सिविलाइजेशन एंड गंगा वैली सिविलाइजेशन। दिस इज द रियल टास्क अहेड अस। और हमने बिहार सरकार से निवेदन किया है, मैं और अपने सहकार भाई जी आदरणीय दत्ता जी, हम दोनों लोग पिछले महीने गए थे वहाँ, और बिहार सरकार ने एक संकल्प पत्र अपने विधानसभा में पारित किया है कि इस उत्खनन को हम प्रायोरिटी में लेंगे, और गंगा नदी समन्वित परियोजना पूरी तरह से जो सभ्यतागत विकास है हमारा, जिसमें संस्कृति का परिवर्तन हुआ है, उस विकास के इतिहास को हम नए तरीके से देखेंगे, एक नया एंगल शुरू करेंगे। ये जो नैरेटिव है, ये जो रिक्लेमिंग सिविलाइजेशन है, इसको हमको साइंटिफिक बनाना पड़ेगा, ताकि ये जो पॉलिटिक्स हमारे साथ हुई है, हमारे पास अभी समय नहीं है, नहीं तो इसको मैं और डिटेल में आपको बताऊंगा कभी। इस पॉलिटिक्स को जानबूझ के किया गया on the basis of dominance in science and technology by the European intellects. And therefore this politics of domination, it can be broken. एक जिसको आप कहते हैं हमको पैराडिग्म चेंज करना है, अगर उसके लिए भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को प्रज्ञा में परिवर्तित करना बहुत आवश्यक है। हमारे जो वक्ता है मंच पर, वो एक एक करके इस बारे में अपने विचार रखेंगे, और निश्चित रूप से इस सत्र से प्रेरणा लेकर हम न सिर्फ भारत के इतिहास को, भारत की सभ्यता को, भारत की संस्कृति को पूरी दुनिया से कनेक्ट करने का प्रयास करेंगे एक नए सिरे से। जिस तरह से बौद्ध इतिहास को और बौद्ध परिकल्पना को एक डिस्टॉर्ट किया जा रहा है, एंटी सनातन के रूप में प्रेजेंट किया जा रहा है, उसको भी इसके साथ रखने की आवश्यकता है। अभी फिन्स के थिंक टैंक में हम लोगों ने इस पर विचार किया गया हमें, और मुझे लगता है कि बहुत जल्दी उस पर भी एक अलग से वर्कशॉप करने की ज़रूरत है कि सनातन के जो सेगमेंटेशन है, जो अन्य धाराएं हैं, उन धाराओं का कन्वर्जेंस हम कैसे करें, क्योंकि जो थॉट प्रोसेस है इट इज सेम, इट इज ओनली द रोड मैप that is deviating. So this diversity and convergence, it has to come together. This politics of creating a narrative, सिखिज्म को धर्म बना दिया, जैनिज्म को धर्म बना दिया, बुद्धिज्म को धर्म बना दिया, और ये सारे जो भारतीय परंपरा का जो सनातन के सूत्र थे, जैसा आदरणीय गवर्नर साहब कह रहे थे, मोक्ष पाना हमारा अंतिम लक्ष्य होता है। लिबरेटिंग कैन बी इन डिफरेंट मैनर, बट द प्रोसेस ऑफ लिबरेशन रिमेन्स सेम, path may be different. So I hope that this politics and this epistemology, ये जो ज्ञान और तत्व मीमांसा है, मैं दोनों को इकट्ठा करता हूँ, इस मीमांसा पर यहाँ एक बहुत गंभीर विचार होगा। और इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं अपने कोच चेयरमैन सर को निवेदन करता हूँ कि 2 शब्द कहें, उसके बाद हम अपने स्पीकर को। ठीक है, ओके, थैंक यू सर। आचार्य कृष्णानंद सागर जी शायद नहीं है ना, तो आई इनवाइट प्रोफेसर जगदीश कुमार जोशी जी, इज डायरेक्टर MMTTC गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटी। प्लीज।
ज्ञानम and भाई जी, चेयरपर्सन डॉक्टर मनीष जी, directors, co-plenary speakers, dignitaries from India and abroad. Start with the divine, Brahman, the eternal essence that guides, guides, illuminating. These are the ideas are vibed in both and all. Privilege, well in conversation that holds profound significance, not just for academia or society, gathered here to ideas that challenge the foundation of how we view knowledge and culture, and how we interpret them in our changing world. For today, the coloniality, epistemology, and politics of knowledge offers a gateway to critically re-examine the lens through which we understand our histories and our future. Vajpayee very nice initiated the discussion ending on. Let me begin with a question. What is the source of our knowledge? This is very important to understand. Is it inherent within us? As the great Indian philosopher Swami Vivekananda ji once said, soul is potentially divine. Or is it something that is imparted to us from outside? shaped by external forces, ideologies, and institutions. As Sir has given a right example of Max Muller or many other theorists and historians. The question lies at the heart of epistemology, the study of knowledge, and its intricate relationship with colonialism. Historically, the system of knowledge that has dominated the global intellectual discourse have been shaped by colonial legacies. For centuries, knowledge was seen the lens of Western, and the intellectual traditions of East were often marginalized or dismissed. This has led to a knowledge hierarchy where Western perspectives are considered, while other traditions and often delegated periphery. They are neglected. The imbalance is not just a historic anomaly, it has deep permeated our education structure or the ways of thinking. Consider, for instance, the Indian education system, which for much of its history was shaped by British colonial rule. English language and English become the language of instruction, and British literature and history became the primary focus and the source. Our indigenous knowledge system, our ancient texts, our diverse language, and our local traditions were sidelined. And in many ways, this colonial framework continues to influence how we educate, how we conduct research, and how we define what constitutes a valid knowledge. One of the most striking examples of this is the story of India's ancient universities, such as Nalanda and these were the hubs of knowledge long before British arrived. Nalanda University, for example, housed scholars from China, Korea, Tibet, Sri Lanka, and many other regions. It was melting pot of diverse epistemologies. Yet, this rich tradition was replaced by a colonial education system that prioritized. It is as if we were asked to forget our wisdom and our ancestors were of the intellectual framework that was not our own, that was imposed. I am reminded of the powerful words which are discussed in Katha Upanishad, Apo hi Shuddhamaya, Apo hi Shuddhamaya, Ayam Atma Brahmavachakshe. The slok remains and reminds us of the true knowledge comes from purity, both of the mind and spirit, purity of mind and spirit. It calls us to reclaim that purity and understanding knowledge in its wholeness beyond external biases. Our intellectual traditions are not tainted, they are complete. And it is a time we reach their full. This call to self-empowerment, to reclaim one's identity and knowledge, is a direct challenge to colonial structure that sought to suppress local. Decolonizing is, as its core, a reclamation of an acknowledgement of that knowledge does not belong to any one culture, but it is shared treasure of all humanity. As we embark on this discussion, I urge you to consider how we can foster an epistemological environment that does not just privilege one way of knowing, but rather embraces multiple diverse perspectives and respect for the knowledge. Time has come for us to not only rethink traditions, but also to create new spaces where every tradition is given the respect and it deserves. The way knowledge is constructed, taught, and disseminated does not occur in a vacuum. It deeply entangled with politics. Knowledge, after all, is power. In every society, those who control the production and distribution of knowledge so hold a significant degree politics of knowledge can be understood as the structure, system, and ideologies that dictate knowledge is valued and which is marginal. It influences the curriculum, shapes research priorities, and ultimately decides what is taught in classrooms and what is excluded. This dynamics play a crucial role in shaping the intellectual landscape of any particular like us. India have long experienced the implications of this political for knowledge. From colonial period to the present, our education system has often been framed by external influences. Sometimes the determinant of our intellectual traditions, sometimes the push and pull factors. During the British colonial era, education was designed not just to transmit knowledge, but to perpetuate the colonial. As Macaulay famously said, the aim was to create a class of persons who would be Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in this ideology profoundly influenced our education and continues to go through journey. Striking example of this is of history. For decades, the Indian curriculum was largely shaped by British historians who portrayed India's past as one of stagnation, backwardness, and oppression. Our reach of scientific, mathematical, and philosophical achievements was often overlooked or misinterpreted. The contributions of scholars like Aryabhatta, Brahmagupta, and Panini were sidelined. With Western figures like Newton and Galileo, they were placed on the pedestal. The historical narratives, which was a part of the colonial agenda, had far-reaching implications on how we, as a society, viewed on our own identities and capabilities. Let me bring a quote from Sri Rabindranath Tagore, who once remarked, "A nation's culture resides in the hearts and in the souls of its people." This statement is not just a call to preserve culture, but to recognize the immense value of local knowledge systems, which often get overshadowed in the politicals and politics of knowledge. In contemporary India, while we have made significant strides in reclaiming our cultural identity, we still grapple with the dominance of Western times in our education. The politics of knowledge continues to dictate the direction for research funding, curriculum design, and even the criteria for academic success. And now the latest one is the rankings. When you are going for world rankings, the rankings, they also influence in one or another. So this is what is looked at in different ways. Students are often pushed to adopt Western methodologies and fully understanding of appreciating of vast range of indigenous knowledge systems that have shaped our civilization. I like to quote Maitri Upanishad here, Satyam Gnanam Anantam Brahmam, Satir Bhrajate Sarvam. This slok teaches us the truth and knowledge are infinite. No matter how much we are told to adopt foreign systems, the true essence of our knowledge lays within our own tradition. As we confront the politics of knowledge, we must know that our journey towards truth is not defined solely by external, but guided by the integrity of our own philosophical wisdom. Just would like to conclude in lines. As we look the future, let us commit ourselves to fostering a global academic community that is characterized by equity, inclusivity, and respect for all forms of. Let us work together, scholars, to create a future where knowledge is not just a tool of power, but a force for collective enlightenment. The future is in our hands and it will shape us. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you.
So we had a very nice perspective of politics of knowledge, especially the effect of colonization in changing the direction of civilizational path that we achieved. Professor Joshi has very nicely, and finally, he mentioned the Taitiri Upanishad. Just before I call the next speaker, out of the three parts of Taitiri, which is the part of Krishna, Yajurvediya roots, the Shikshavalli that he has quoted is followed by the Brahmavalli and finally the Bhraguvalli. The final conclusion somewhere we all have to thought that this politics of knowledge started when we could not follow the final narrative of Taitiriya, which says tapas. Raghu, when he went to Varun to ask how to attain the Brahmagyana, Varun says tapas. And this is how the Panchakosas are inbuilt and inculcated the knowledge. Tapas, and we started saying Savidya Bhim. Come to the Vishnu. Tatkarmayanya bandhaye Savidya Bhimuktaye Ayasaya. When you make an imbalance the knowledge, the eternal and external, then this type of narrative build, the politics of knowledge starts. We invite the next speaker, Sri Jagdish Patelji, who is Prant Sayojak Swadeshi Jagran Manch, to have a new dimension of this politics of knowledge. Joshi Patel.
नमस्कार। 9वें सत्र में
Before you speak, just say, we request all the speakers to please conclude within 8 minutes. We have the valedictory at 5 o'clock. Sorry, sir.
Thank you. आदरणीय मंच, सम्माननीय सदन, इस सत्र का विषय है डीकोलोनियलिटी, एपिस्टेमोलॉजी एंड पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ नॉलेज। बहुत लंबी चर्चाएं इस विषय पर हमारे अध्यक्ष जी से शुरू हुई है। डीकोलोनियलिटी का इफेक्ट जो आया है वो केवल हम समझते हैं कि वो हमारी सरकार चली गई और उसका हमको मुक्ति मिल गई, ऐसा नहीं है। औपनिवेशिक संरचना से मानसिक मुक्ति का अर्थ केवल राजनीतिक स्वतंत्रता नहीं है, बल्कि यह ज्ञान, सोच और हमारे दृष्टिकोण को भी स्वतंत्रता मिलनी चाहिए। हमको औपनिवेश शासन ने क्या क्या प्रभावित किया? तो हमारी शिक्षा पद्धति 1835 से जो मैकोले के कारण क्या हुआ, इसका परिणाम क्या हुआ? आज भी स्वतंत्रता के 75-80 वर्ष के बाद अगर हम बोले तो जेंटलमैन की परिभाषा विदेशों में जो भी हो, यहाँ पर भी वही है। मैं उदाहरण से बताऊं, अगर मैं अभी फ्लुएंट इंग्लिश बोलूं तो आपको लगेगा कि भैया अच्छे पढ़े लिखे हैं। अगर मैं हिंदी में बोल रहा हूं तो आपको लगेगा ठीक है, और अगर मैं लोकल छत्तीसगढ़ी में बोलूंगा तो आपको लगेगा ये तो ठेठ आदमी है। मानसिकता हमारी डीकोलोनियलिटी के कारण बनी हुई है, इससे बाहर आना था, ये बहुत जरूरी है। शिक्षा के कारण जो हमारे मन मस्तिष्क में हमारे भारत के अतीत के गौरव को भुला दिया गया है, उसको पुनः लाना होगा। ये आज के समय की इस सत्रों के माध्यम से, इस सेमिनार के माध्यम से आवश्यकता है। दूसरा असर पड़ा वो हमारे इतिहास के ऊपर। हम भी सामान्यतः जब हमारे देश की बात करते हैं तो 1947 से ही शुरू होते। वास्तव में जैसे सर ने जो बात कही कि एंगस मेडिसन के जो रिपोर्ट है, उन्होंने भी शून्य से शुरू की है। ईस्वीसन शून्य से 2000 वर्ष का जो उन्होंने आर्थिक इतिहास लिखा है, मैं कहता हूं हमको और पीछे जाना चाहिए। हमारे पास गौरवशाली देदीप्यमान इतिहास है जिसके हम वंशज है। कुछ पंक्ति से हमको उसको समझना चाहिए कि हम कौन थे, हम क्या थे, कैसे थे। तो एक कवि ने लिखा है, कैसों में गिन सिंहों के दांत हम अनेकों बार हंसे, यौवन में सुरपण खाओ उर्वशियों में नहीं फंसे, हम गुरुवर वशिष्ठ के चेले हैं, नहीं राज्य पर मरते, अग्रज खिले चरण पादुका 14 वर्ष गुजरते हैं, भातृघातिनी औरंगजेबी दुनिया हमें मिटानी है, हम इतिहास लिखेंगे उनका जिनकी सजग जवानी है। सागर की छाती पर पत्थर तैराना अपनी थाती, 3 डगों में यहाँ विश्व भर की धरती नापी जाती, अत्याचारी दुशासन का रक्त चाटते वीर यहाँ, शरणागत के रक्षण हित रण में डटते हम वीर यहाँ, यहाँ बलि वेदी पर बलि देते बलिदानी है, इतिहास लिखेंगे उनका सजग जवानी। ये गौरवशाली इतिहास हम सबको, आज की पीढ़ी को पढ़ाना ये नितांत आवश्यक है। तब पता चलेगा कि भारत कैसा था। तीसरा उन्होंने इफेक्ट जो आया वो हमारी बौद्धिक परंपराओं में आया। आज हम सब बहुत सारी परंपराएं तो वेस्टर्न है उसको एडॉप्ट करते हैं, वो अच्छी है, यहाँ की वो अच्छी नहीं है। डीकोलोनाइजेशन का जो इफेक्ट हमको लाना है वो क्या है? सहज रूप से कहें तो मैंने पहना हुआ ये जैकेट मेरा मित्र अमेरिका में रहता है, उसने भेजा है, मैं यहाँ से नीचे उतरूंगा तो 2 जन छू के देखेंगे भैया कैसा है, और मैं यही कहूँ कि मैं तो छत्तीसगढ़ का रहने वाला हूँ, हमारा सुदूर वनांचल बस्तर जिला जहाँ मैं गया था मैं वहीं से खरीद के लाया हूँ, आपको लगेगा ठीक होगा। ये जो मानसिकता है उनका अच्छा हमारा अच्छा नहीं, इससे बाहर आना होगा। ये जो इफेक्ट है इसको खत्म करनी होगी। आज उस इफेक्ट को कैसे खत्म करेंगे, करना क्या है? हमारे जीवन में कुछ बातें हमको लानी होगी और उदाहरण से हमको प्रस्तुत करना होगा, जैसे हमारी भाषा, हमारी भूषा, हमारे भजन, हमारा भोजन, हमारे भवन और हमारा भ्रमण, ये भारतीय हो, स्वदेशी हो। जिस दिन हम इस दिशा में आगे बढ़ेंगे ये सारा इफेक्ट जो है वो धीरे धीरे समाप्त हो जाएगा। कॉलोनाइजर्स के इफेक्ट को हम कितने दिन तक झेलें? हमको वर्तमान भारत के आगे भविष्य को ले जाना है, तो वर्तमान भारत की जो अच्छी बातें हैं इसको प्रचारित भी करना होगा। भारत के बारे में कहा गया ये गरीबों का, पिछड़ों का, अनपढ़ों का, सपेरों का देश है, ऐसा कहते हैं। वास्तव में ये मैकोले की शिक्षा पद्धति और लेफ्टिस्टों के इतिहासकारों के इतिहास के चलते हमारे मन में भी ये भ्रम भरा गया। वास्तव में आज भारत कैसा है? मैं क्योंकि हेल्थ सेक्टर में भी काम करता हूँ, हम सब ने देखा, एक उदाहरण से समझते हैं। जब कोरोना आया पूरी मानव जाति एक बराबर हो गई। क्या गांव, क्या शहर, क्या अमीर, क्या गरीब, क्या भारतीय, क्या जापानीज, जर्मनी, चाइनीज, इटली, फ्रांस, सब बराबर हो गए। हेल्थ सेक्टर के सूरमा भी लगभग एक ही दिशा में काम कर रहे थे, वो था हमारे इस कोरोना महामारी के बचाव के लिए वैक्सीन का इनोवेशन। याद करिए उन दिन को जब WHO एक साथ 5 वैक्सीन को परमिट करता है, उस 5 वैक्सीन में से भारत की कितनी थी? कितनी थी? आउट ऑफ 5 2 वैक्सीन भारत की। ये वर्तमान भारत है जो गरीबों का, पिछड़ों का, सपेरों का अब भारत नहीं है। इस मानसिकता को उखाड़ फेंकने की आवश्यकता है। ये भारत जो है ये वर्तमान भारत का ये दृश्य है। यूपीआई पूरी दुनिया, एक तरफ अमेरिका और चाइना, एक तरफ 45% यूपीआई भारत, ये भारत है। भारत एक समय आज से 10,000 वर्ष पूर्व का जो वैभव संपन्न भारत था, आज पुनः हम उस दिशा में आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। आज दुनिया के अंदर हमारा डिफेंस सिस्टम, हमने देखा ऑपरेशन सिंदूर, चाइनीज टर्किश ड्रोन हमारे देश में, हमारे जम्मू और उधर उन्होंने फेंके, कहीं सफल नहीं हुए। हमारी ब्रह्मोस पिनाक मिसाइल के माध्यम से हमने आतंकियों के ठीक पिन पॉइंट आक्रमण करके उसको खत्म किया। एक भी सिविलियन कैजुअलिटी बिना हमने सारे आतंकी ठिकानों पर सटीक हमले किए। ये वर्तमान भारत है। भारत का भविष्य जो है उज्जवल है। ऐसे उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए हमको आगे का सोचना, आगे कैसे बढ़ेंगे, ये जो भारत की ये जो एपिस्टेमोलॉजी है, ये जो ज्ञान की परंपरा है, उसको पुनः जागरूक करना हो। सर ने जो उल्लेख किया, मेरे पूर्व वक्ता ने भी कहा, कि हमारे जो ज्ञान थे, हमारे वेद पुराण, हमारे जो भी इतिहास के पन्नों में इनको दबाने का जो कुचक्र चला है, उससे बाहर आना होगा। यूथ को अब ये जो आज से 2014 में हम 11वीं अर्थव्यवस्था थे ना, आज चौथी अर्थव्यवस्था बन गए। आने वाले निकट भविष्य में हम तीसरी बनने जा रहे हैं। तो चाहे वो आर्थिक क्षेत्र हो, चाहे शिक्षा का क्षेत्र हो, चाहे वो इतिहास लेखन की बात हो, चाहे गौरवशाली इतिहास की स्मरण करने की बातें हो, हमको इस नॉलेज को आगे बढ़ाना है। यही वैभवशाली भारत को, जिसे कहते थे ना कि भारत सोने की चिड़िया था, तो सोने की चिड़िया भारत क्या सोने की खदानें थी क्या? भारत में, भारत को गोल्डन बर्ड कहते थे ना, क्या था भारत में? क्या था? सोना तो आज भी नहीं है, लेकिन हर क्षेत्र में भारत जो था वो अग्रणी था। इसीलिए ये जो कोलोनाइजर के इफेक्ट को अब हमको समाप्त करके आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, उस पर और आगे बढ़ने के लिए हमें हमारे गौरवशाली अतीत को स्मरण करना होगा। और ये जो पावर गेम चल रहे हैं, उसमें हम सब दूर आगे हैं। समय का अभाव है। भारत जो है आज, चाहे वो हमने एक छोटा सा उदाहरण से देखें कि जो अमेरिका 166 मिलियन डॉलर से 166 बिलियन डॉलर से अपने मून को सक्सेस करता है, मिशन को, वही भारत के आईआईटी के और अन्य हमारे साइंटिस्ट सिंपली 166 करोड़ के उस मिशन से हम चंद्र के उस स्थान पर पहुंचते हैं जहां अभी तक कोई नहीं पहुंचा। ये वर्तमान जो है हमारा, ये भी गौरवशाली है। इसको और प्रदर्शित करके और बताते हुए, उसको उजागर करते हुए, भारत जो था, जो वैभव संपन्न था, गौरवशाली था, आने वाला भारत भी ऐसा बनेगा। हम पुनः विश्व गुरु के स्थान पर प्रस्थापित होंगे। यही संकल्प को हम सबको लेते हुए जाना है। मुझे लगता है इसी सेमिनार की सफलता है। हम उज्जवल भविष्य के भारत को, भारत माता को पुनः चिरंतन सिंहासन पर प्रतिष्ठित करने के लक्ष्य के लिए हम सब मिलकर के आगे बढ़ेंगे। निश्चित रूप से आने वाला कल हमारा है। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत, जय छत्तीसगढ़।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आदरणीय जगदीश पटेल जी। आपने एक नए तरीके से भारतीय ज्ञान मीमांसा की व्याख्या की है और एक विकल्प हमको दिया है कि स्वदेशी स्वावलंबन और आत्मनिर्भरता एक बहुत अच्छा विकल्प हो सकता है अतुलनीय भारत के लिए, विकसित भारत के लिए। और इस कौशन के साथ कि विकसित भारत विकसित अर्थव्यवस्था नहीं, हमको थोड़ा सा और आगे जाना है। एक समरस भारत की हम बात कर रहे हैं, बल्कि एक समरस विश्व के लिए इस तरह की एपिस्टेमोलॉजी और ऑन्टोलॉजी एक साथ कंबाइंड क्रिएट हो, एक बहुत अच्छा पक्ष आपने रखा। अगले वक्ता के रूप में आदरणीय प्रदीप कुमार गुप्ता जी संभवतः नहीं है हमारे बीच में। मैं निवेदन करता हूं प्रोफेसर पवित्रा भारद्वाज जी से, जो कि प्राचार्य हैं कमला नेहरू कॉलेज दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में, आपके विचारों के लिए।
सभी को आज इस बहुत अच्छे, बहुत सक्सेसफुल कॉन्फ्रेंस के लिए ऑर्गेनाइजर्स को, यहाँ के वाइस चांसलर को हार्दिक अभिनंदन और हमारी तरफ से बहुत धन्यवाद कि उन्होंने इतना अच्छा कॉन्फ्रेंस 2 दिन का ऑर्गेनाइज किया, जिसमें वृहद संवाद हुआ। और किसी भी कॉन्फ्रेंस के आखिरी सेशन का आखिरी स्पीकर होने का अपना एक चैलेंज है, क्योंकि जो बातें आप कहना चाहते थे लगभग वो सारी कही जा चुकी। फिर भी मौका मिला है तो एक टीचर है, एक प्रोफेसर है, माइक तो छोड़ेंगे नहीं, कुछ तो कहकर ही हटेंगे। मैं अपनी बात एक छोटे से, क्योंकि मैं देख रही हूँ कि बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स भी बैठे हुए हैं, तो मैं उनको एक एनेक्डोट मैं बताना चाहूँगी। शायद आप लोगों ने इसके बारे में पढ़ा हो। एक स्टोरी या एक एनेक्डोट है जिसे हम कहते हैं कार्गो कल्ट। कार्गो कल्ट बेसिकली एक घटना या एक मूवमेंट की तरह आप समझ सकते हैं। जब साउथ पैसिफिक रीजन में वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के बाद कुछ बहुत रिमोट आइलैंड्स पे, जो मेलेनेशियन आइलैंड्स थे, वहाँ पे अमेरिकन ट्रूप्स पहुँचे, अमेरिकन सोल्जर्स पहुँचे, और उन्होंने वहाँ पर अपने लिए एयर स्ट्रिप्स बनाए, अपने डॉक्स बनाए, और बहुत सारी सप्लाई डिपोज आई, बड़ा अच्छा उनका खाना आया, बड़ा अच्छा टेक्नोलॉजी आया। तो जो आइलैंड के नेटिव लोग थे, जिनके पास अपना अब तक इंडिजिनस नॉलेज था, अपनी उनकी एक इकोनॉमी थी, एक सस्टेनेबल वे ऑफ लाइफ था, उन्होंने वो सब देखा। अब क्योंकि ये लोग कुछ दिन के लिए आए थे, तो इन्होंने थोड़ी चीज़ें इंडिजिनस लोगों के साथ शेयर की, और उसके बाद जब वो समय बीत गया तो ये अपना सब समेट के ये सोल्जर्स चले गए। अब जो इंडिजिनस लोग थे, उन्होंने कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें देखी जो अब तक उन्होंने नहीं देखी थी, और जो उनको बड़ी अट्रैक्टिव लगी। और इसी में एक नाम उभर के आता है जॉन फ्रम का। जॉन फ्रम ने इन इंडिजिनस लोगों को ये भ्रम दिया कि अगर आप उन तरीकों की नकल करेंगे, अगर आप उन टेक्निक्स की नकल करेंगे, तो आप भी उसी तरीके से एडवांस हो जाएंगे जैसे कि वो अमेरिकन सोल्जर्स थे। तो उन्होंने बांस के डॉक्स बनाने शुरू किए, बैम्बू की एयर स्ट्रिप्स बनानी शुरू की। इसका बहुत क्रिटिक है, आप पढ़ेंगे, बड़ा अच्छा ये वो है कि किस तरह से एक इंडिजिनस पॉपुलेशन जो थी उन आइलैंड्स की, जो बहुत अच्छे इकोनॉमिकली सोशली इवॉल्व थे, उनको जब ये एक ब्रीफ एनकाउंटर, ये बहुत छोटा एनकाउंटर था कॉलोनियल पावर का, जब उनको ये हुआ, उसके बाद उनकी जो पूरी सोशो इकोनॉमिक और कल्चरल उनका जो लाइफ था वो अफेक्ट हो गया, और काफ़ी समय तक उसका अफेक्ट दिखा। तो अब हम भारत की बात अगर करते हैं, तो भारत का एनकाउंटर जो है कॉलोनियलिज्म का, वो ब्रीफ नहीं है, वो काफ़ी लंबा एनकाउंटर है। और इसीलिए जो 2 दिन से हम ये डिस्कोर्स कर रहे हैं, ये डेलिब्रेशंस कर रहे हैं कि कितना गहरा असर इस कॉलोनियलिज्म ने भारत पर डाला। और अच्छी बात यह है कि अब हम उससे बाहर आ गए। एक प्रोवर्ब आपने सुना होगा कि जब तक शेर पढ़ना नहीं सीखेगा, तब तक सारी कहानियां शिकारी को ही ग्लोरीफाई करेंगी, शिकारी के ही गुणगान करेंगे। तो अब हम काफ़ी मेहनत और काफ़ी प्रयास के बाद हम इस बात पर हम समझ पा रहे हैं, इस बात को हम जोर दे पा रहे हैं कि नहीं, हमें अपनी भारतीयता, अपने ट्रेडिशन, अपने कल्चर, अपनी इंडिजिनस नॉलेज, अपने वेद ज्ञान परंपरा को समझना है, संजोना है, और उसको हमें आगे बढ़ाना है। लेकिन साथ साथ मैं कंप्यूटर साइंस की स्टूडेंट हूँ, तो आपको एक चीज़ के साथ, क्योंकि बहुत समय कम है, मैं बिल्कुल समय पर ख़त्म करना चाहती हूँ। एक बात मैं ज़रूर कहना चाहूँगी, आप लोगों को एक नया फॉर्म ऑफ कॉलोनियलिज्म, क्योंकि आगे भविष्य के हमारे सिटीजन्स बैठे हैं, जो ग्लोबल सिटीजन्स हमारे हैं, कि आपको एक नए फॉर्म का कॉलोनियलिज्म अब आपके सामने है, जिसको हम कह रहे हैं डिजिटल कॉलोनियलिज्म या डेटा कॉलोनियलिज्म। आप सब जानते हैं कि भारत की जो आबादी है वो दुनिया की आबादी का एक बड़ा हिस्सा है, और इसीलिए भारत जो है वो दुनिया के लिए डेटा का सबसे बड़ा सोर्स है। और जितने एआई मॉडल्स बन रहे हैं, उसमें काफ़ी की जो डेटा सोर्स है वो इंडियन डेटा सोर्स है। तो ये सारा हमारा जो डेटा है, ये एक्चुअली अमेरिकन कंपनीज या बड़े बड़े मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज यूज़ करके और हमारे लिए एक नया इंटेलेक्चुअल नैरेटिव बिल्ड कर रहे हैं। आपको एक उदाहरण देती हूँ, आप लोगों में से कुछ लोगों ने शायद देखी होगी, एक फिल्म आई है ह्यूमंस इन द लूप। कितने लोगों ने फिल्म देखी है? ह्यूमंस इन द लूप हिंदी की फिल्म है, ये नाम अंग्रेजी है। इसमें एक बहुत अच्छा, आप लोग देखिए, आपको बहुत अच्छा लगेगा। उसमें एक छोटा सा सीन है कि एक आदिवासी लड़की एक डेटा सेंटर में काम कर रही है, जहाँ पे एआई मॉडल्स की ट्रेनिंग हो रही है, जहाँ पे इमेजेस की लेबलिंग हो रही है कि ये इमेज क्या है, ये पत्ते की इमेज है, ये इंसेक्ट की। तो उस लड़की को एक इंसेक्ट की इमेज दिखाई जाती है। वो लड़की आदिवासी है, बचपन से जंगलों में, पेड़ पौधों में इनमें रही है, उसको काफ़ी ज्ञान है। तो जो उसकी इंस्ट्रक्टर है वो एक इंसेक्ट का नाम उसको आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए उसको डांटती। वो कहती है कि तुम इसको अच्छा कीड़ा क्यों बता रही हो, तुम इसको एक बेनिफिशियरी इंसेक्ट बता रही हो, जबकि ये एक पेस्ट है। तो लड़की उसको चैलेंज करती है, कहती है कि नहीं, मैं जानती हूँ ये जो इमेज है ये जिस कीड़े की है ये पेस्ट नहीं है, ये एक बहुत अच्छा कीड़ा है क्योंकि ये पेड़ों की गली हुई पत्तियों को खाता है सिर्फ। लेकिन वो जो इंस्ट्रक्टर है उसको जो कंपनी के मालिक हैं जो कि विदेशी हैं, उन्होंने ये इंस्ट्रक्ट किया कि नहीं, ये कीड़े को आप पेस्ट बताइए। और ये जो फिल्म का सीन है ये लिखा हुआ भी है कि ये एक रियल लाइफ इंसिडेंट से निकला है। तो हम अपनी ज्ञान परंपरा को संजो रहे हैं, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ जो आगे चैलेंजेस हैं, जो हमारे सामने चैलेंजेस हैं, खास करके यंग जनरेशन के सामने, जो डिजिटल इकोनॉमी, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, जिनके लिए एक वे ऑफ लाइफ है, उनके लिए ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि आप कॉन्शियस रहें कि जो एआई मॉडल्स या जो एआई आपको जो चीज़ें बता रहा है, आप उसको अपना इंटेलेक्ट, अपना इंडियन विजडम, अपना ट्रेडिशनल विजडम यूज करके इंटरप्रेट। मैं इससे ज़्यादा समय नहीं लूँगी, मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम देती हूँ और पुनः चेयर को और सभी श्रोताओं को धन्यवाद।
Thank you, madam. Professor Bharadwaj has she has given a very important perspective to the whole debate. And this perspective, very nicely, it is coherent with the NEP 2020. If you can combine it, this is called rhythm in our parampara. Rhythm means till we synchronize, we don't realize. And what she is saying, I think this is the take of this session, that we have to be careful while developing, और जिसको हम कहते हैं पुनर्स्थापना, वो पुनर्स्थापना करते समय एपिस्टेमोलॉजी का हमको युगानुकूल रहना होगा. If we are not in the context, then probably हमारा रोड मैप गड़बड़ हो जाए. एक तरफ जब हम भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को क्यूरिकुलम में, पठन पाठन में, अपने आउटकम बेस्ड एजुकेशन में, लर्नर्स में चाहते हैं कि वो रिफ्लेक्ट हो, उसी समय हमको 21st सेंचुरीज की जो स्किल्स हैं उनको भी इसके साथ कंबाइन करना. With this caution, I think she has given a new takeaway how to integrate various things. The whole process of bringing Bharatiya Gyan Parampara into the current context is integration. So this integration has new dimension, and I'm really grateful for bringing this perspective. And now I invite, we are taking two sessions together. So before I invite the next speaker, I would like my co-chair, Sri A.M. Divakarji, to summarize the takeaways of this session just now. And then we will call the new two speakers.
Namaskar, everyone. So, at the outset, I'd like to thank our distinguished chairperson, Professor P.R. Bajpai, for his enlightening remarks. He gave us an insight onto how the colonialists subjugated our education system, and he also gave us examples of how colonial thought, like the Aryan invasion theory and so many other things, like the Proto-European, origins of Sanskrit, things like this, they have used these, what shall we say, methods to, suppress and subjugate us. Professor Joshi gave us a very nice insight into what comprises of knowledge and how it is structured today, and how imbalance has permeated education, and he also gave briefly the roadmap to how to get out of it. पटेल जी ने बहुत अच्छा फोकस किया हमारे माइंड्स को डीकॉलोनाइज करने का एंड आवर एकेडमिक्स थॉट एंड आवर एकेडमिक स्ट्रक्चर्स को, और का जो प्रभाव है हमारे इतिहास के ऊपर, इसके बारे में उन्होंने बताया. तो वी आर वेरी थैंकफुल टू पटेल जी. Professor Bharadwaj gave a very nice talk about how colonialists are using technology and how through the use of this technology today they are trying to again, through AI and such other means, they are trying to again sort of subjugate our thought under their thought. A lot. I would also take this opportunity to thank the GGU, Guru Ghasidas Vishwavidyalaya Vice Chancellor, Professor Chakravalji, and Professor Srivastav ji and Pradhan ji for the wonderful organization of this two-day conference. They have really put in a lot of effort, and ICCS is very grateful to them for wonderful show. Over the last 2 days, most people have heard a lot of scholars and intellectuals talk about epistemology, decolonization. So this is how I have understood it. I hope I am able to submit to you in probably 2-3 minutes. So what is this that they have said about the need for decolonization? Need for decolonization has come about because the study of indigenous traditions is ruled by Western intellectual thought. And everybody here who is in social sciences knows that basically when we talk about Western intellectual thought in social sciences, it fundamentally Eurocentric thought. And what have they done?
Request all of you to please be busy.
So what did they do? What did they tell the indigenous people? They told the indigenous people that you do not understand the land that you live. Your social structures are not according to law and morality. Your ecological relationships are superstition. Your system of self-governance does not follow any logical and law practices. And yes, fundamentally your spirituality is mythology, it is not philosophy. So as a result, what happened was, they also told us that nature and culture is separate. Don't mix the two. Whereas in all our indigenous traditions, nature and culture are totally interconnected. And spirituality is not secular. Your spirituality is not secular, and you definitely have any rationality in your community structures. So they give them a appropriated authority, subjugate you to what is called epistemological imperialism. Now, how do you get out of this? Do you, sort of get out of this? One of the things is, it does not only mean when you get out of it, it does not only mean by adding indigenous perspectives or indigenous scholars to existing structures, you will be able to get out of it. There is no add salt to taste, sort of solution here. You need to recognize that indigenous knowledge are not some sort of deficient versions of Western thought. They have their own systems. They have to be given the adequate amount of respect. And when you study that indigenous tradition, it is very important as to not what you study, it's also who studies it and what are the outcomes, and do the indigenous people have a right on those outcomes. So I'm just being very brief here. So anyway, thank you very much, because everybody else has spoken about this, a lot. Thank you very much. And I also again thank Guru Ghasidas Vishwavidyalaya for this wonderful organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Divakarji. And I request you to be here. And we continue for plenary session 10, that is digital humanities and knowledge democratization. Essentially, we are having a transition from colonized mind to colonized knowledge. We are discussing the ways and means of how to decolonize mind, and in this session we will focus how to decolonize the knowledge. And education is one of the ways bring the right kind of traditional knowledge into the mainframe perspective. And for this purpose, I invite two of the scholars, and the first of them is Dr. C. Somthavin Mongsai. Maybe I am not correctly pronouncing her name. She is the Dean of the Faculty of Liberal Arts at Sinwatra University, Thailand. She holds a PhD in communication from Rangthongang University. She completed PDF at University Putra, Malaysia. She has published 30 plus academic articles and received research grants in 2019, 22 and 23. Her work mainly focuses on cultural communication and community-based cultural development. Thank you very much, madam. Our next speaker is Professor Bindra V. Karvilniai. She belongs to NEHU, my first university where I joined in 88 as a lecturer. So I'm really happy, Professor Bindra. You were not there at that time, unfortunately. She is a professor of NEHU. She is an education professor, if I remember correctly. She has 25 years of teaching experience and has served at NEHU since 2006. She is a professor from 2015, and her research focuses on higher education, ICT in education, and research methodology. She has authored books and published many research papers in national and international journals. Without any break, I first invite Dr. C. Somthenving Pongsai. Please be brief within 8 to 10 minutes.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself just a bit that because bro just call me Dr. C, so you can call me Dr. Shanya. I am from Thailand, the land with the smiling. So for now, if you cannot remember what is the Thailand, so which means if you know the superstar Lisa, yes, I come from the same country with Lisa, from Korea, superstar. So now I just feel like very excited a little bit, but I would like to share about my job. So for now, for this first, so I think working like a lecturer, we must to make the community service and must to do the research. So for now, I would like to share my experience that for this job, for this project, I already do the community service. And after I do the committee service, then I do write the paper and public this project on Scopas Squad High 2. So for these projects, I working with 3 countries, with Thailand, with China, and with Malaysia. So the good thing for this project just be like the first step. I would like to talk about the India just a little bit. So do you know I go to many countries around the world? Just be like I must to go to the country as Korea. I must to go to Korea, South Africa, Philippines, USA for the QS summit. So the good thing from India that I go every time. Just be like India can save the culture and can save identity. The first step that we thinking about India, I will think about the sari. Sari is very, very sexy dress. So everyone can wear sari. So which means if I saw sari, oh, I just think sari is India. Which means sari is the identity of India. So, thank you. So, just be like an example for this international conference. I saw some foreigner wear sari, but I just think, oh, for now India have the white color. Just be like that. Just that because all of the sari must from India in my perspective. But I think it's not only in my perspective. The people around the world is so sari, just thinking about the India only. And when I am at here, the good thing that I need to, maybe when I go back to my country, I will study more. That because I think this is a symbolic, clearly. So, and I think we just have only in India. How can you talk in the road about the hall? So which means if someone just wanna come and another car just honk, pan pan, and the bicycle no, the motorcycle no, and honk back, honk honk. So what's this? How can you communicate with each another in the road? So all of the place as India use her to talk. So which mean is it the symbolic that you can communicate each another for easy everywhere. Just be like I don't know what kind of thing, but I think the accident in India is less than my country. Okay, back to my job. That's been like for this, I am related with the field of arts. For this, we need to study. We have many papers study about the culture in this place. The next car, next. Okay, so if you saw in the place this place we call Kok Gret. Kok Gret just be like the city center in the Iceland at the Nonthaburi city. So which means just be like be the small city and have the Chao Phraya river around. So for this, Caucasus is very, very old city and have many history background. So just be like they have Mon nation stay at this place and famous about the potter. So for now, potter still at this place, but no one use it again. Just be like this potter just be like the old narrative for this place. And when my research team go to this place, just thinking, how can we uh, rebonding this city to coming and invite all of the tourism again. So in the past, we have many papers that study about the history for this city. We use that review literature more and more. After that, we will we find some. Okay. So we find some identity for this community. After that, next card. Okay. That because we found many portals. Just be like this. Just be like the West. Don't use anything. So after that, we can use it to be the identity and make it to be the check-in point. That because the tourists always come in this place and find the place to take the picture and share in the social media. So for this project, we will make the check-in point for this community with the identity this community. And so why I make it more or put the research methodology inside. That because I need to listen the voice from the community. I use the participant action research or PAR methodology to collect all of the data. So pass card. Yeah, just for this, I will tell a little bit story about the picture. For this picture, I make the focus group with the community, and we get some grant from government to support to make this check-in point in this area. The next card. Okay, for this is just like the framework for this. The number one, I want the culture place making, just make all of things with the culture. After that, put the participant action research, make it to be visual community, and all of things at the check-in point be the social innovation for this community. So for this, just talk about the methodology of research. If you saw in that picture, that we have the MOU with this community, and more government organizations just help us to make it and make this community to rebonding again. Next part. So after we decide and have some focus group and hear from the voice from this community, we also have asked the new generation to make it together. Just wanna make him know who you are, who is you are in this community. Just be like we need to teach the children to love and know more about the history of their community. For all of this, okay. For all of this, just go on to the check-in point. Go to the last page. Okay. For this, our team just create and do all of things with identity and with the culturing product. The last. So the last page just be like in that picture, that is outcome for us. We decide this from the identity of a community and make it to be the check-in point for tourism. And for now, is finished and can help this community to rebonding and tourism know it well than before. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Somthao Win Fongsai, for presenting a wonderful way of decolonizing knowledge by integrating again the community heritage, cultural preservation, community empowerment through design innovation, and inculcating tourism and economy together. So a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. Now I invite Professor Bindra B. Khorviriam by for a presentation. Please make it up to 8 to 10 minutes.
A very good afternoon to everyone present here. I would like to thank the organizers of this two-day international conference for the wonderful conference, and also would like to congratulate the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Alok Chakrawal, to invite me and all the other delegates here. So I come from Nehu, as Sir has pointed out. Thank you, Chairperson, Professor Bajpai. He's also been a very important part of our university, as you can see him there. And I come from Nehu. I bring greetings from Shillong, which is a wonderful place. And I invite you all to come to our place, and I'll be your host. Now, today, since it's the last presentation, I know time is less. I'll go fast. My topic is on preservation of indigenous knowledge, with special reference to the Northeast, actually. I would like to point out a few slides on Meghalaya. This entire presentation is on school, like what do we need to do for the school children with regards to indigenous knowledge. Now we know that indigenous knowledge is actually a knowledge which is based, which is there from generation to generation, and usually this knowledge is communicated orally or through very old texts which we have, but oral communication is taken into consideration, especially when we talk about religious knowledge. And we have many ways and means of communicating, like through songs, folklores, proverbs, dances, myths, cultural values, and many other aspects. So we also know that the local indigenous knowledge refers to some kind of philosophies which are embedded in us, and these philosophies are so strong that they relate so much with our culture, so much with our history, and it shows from where we belong and from where we come. So, but there are very few of us actually who carry this indigenous knowledge with us, the way we dress, the way we speak, and maybe many other things. Slowly and steadily, it is trying to get dissolved. And I hope that a day does not come when we do not recognize each other's indigenous knowledge. And we'd like to congratulate NEP 2020, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who came up with this IKS and giving more importance to indigenous knowledge. I'll go quickly to the characters. No, just this part I just want to show you that the indigenous people, they live in all regions in the world, and at least 22% they occupy of the global land area. And with respect to that, I would also like to share that there are more than 7,000 languages, indigenous languages, which are present in this world. And August 9th is the International Day of the World's Indigenous People. And we celebrate this internationally. And here, if you see, there are many reviews which I have taken actually to write this paper, but I'm not going to go with that. Directly, I'm coming to Northeast India. Now, Northeast India is actually a very important part of India. And because of its diversity, we have enormous diversity. And there are many states, there are 8 states which are situated in that region. And the ethnic and tribal segment of the India's population, they consist about 430 communities, of which 130 major tribal groups are present. So I'll just skip all this. I'll come directly to the translations which are there in the indigenous knowledge. You can see here. And then, of course, I'll go straight away to the traditional knowledge in terms of education. So this is the education which you can see now. Curriculum, indigenous curriculum has become an important part of our education system. We are trying our best to indigenize the curriculum, and folklore is one of them. We are trying all the indigenous communities, even in Meghalaya, a part which is an important part of Northeast, we do have indigenous communities where we have our own tradition of cooking our food, then, you know, also educating the children at home. So I'll just show you there is, so this is one of the literature of the Khasi folklore, which has many legends. Actually, there's no time, but if you see into the legends of the Khasi folklore, there are many stories which you can see, the folk tales which I'm showing you. There are 13 of them which I've put, but there are many. And this actually, if you come to know about them one by one like a folk tale, you'll exactly know that how ancient the community is. And then then coming to the curriculum, when we talk about curriculum, we also are trying to bring these indigenous knowledge into our curriculum. It's very local based. We are teaching children, the actual harvesting in the field. We are trying to bring this type of curriculum in the school. And also we are trying to see that how learners are asked to name the local fruits. Now, if you come to, if you teach the children, they would usually say apple, banana, pineapple and all that. But the local fruits, people, especially children, they are not aware of the local fruits. We're coming with that, and vegetables, and we're also narrating the events which took place in the ancient time. And then, of course, the mathematics, which I put it red for you to have a look, that we are also counting the mathematics, we call it as a ethnography, ethnomathematics, which I've just put it in this slide. And this is also talking a lot about the culture. Because in ancient time, if you see, before the British came to India, we still had mathematical calculation. We still had astrological calculation. You can see the Taj Mahal, the ancient temples, the Konark temple, which was built in Bhubaneswar. The accuracy and the precision of this temple is like it has no match. So how was all this thing built when mathematics, it was not that the British introduced mathematics. How was this built? So all these type of indigenous knowledge and accuracy we are trying to bring in the curriculum. And then also there are many local instruments that we are used for measuring, like our feet and hand, and also a piece of string. In earlier times, we used to call ek gaj, do gaj. Now, what is this gaj? The students do not know about this. So all these type of things we are talking about. There are local games which are also introduced in the curriculum, like the khalai we call it. And I have some images which I want to show you here. These are the local games where the children play in the streets in Meghalaya. And these are actually a way of counting, okay? Then you can see this also. I don't know if many of you have seen this. This is called the lattum. We have a round circle and we play so it should not go outside it. Then this is another 7 stones we call it in English, but it's called the Mau point. Here what happens is that we try to put the stones one after the other, but somebody hits you with the ball. So if you get out with the ball, that means you're out. Another person comes in. So this is also a way of making them know about the knowledge. Then we have Rong Mao. This is in Garo Hills. Then we also have the stin up. Just like marbles, we play them, and then we all happen during the past. Then this is another one which is called the Marin Ding Dang. And this is also where they climb up on the stick and walk just to show the balance and precision. And this is another one which is with the bow and the arrow, which is called the trialthon. And this also tells us about how they can use local indigenous products for, for the sport. Then lastly, they are also taught about the concept of time. So if you ask them about the concept of time, they only know the sun. Beyond that, they don't know. So they know the rising of the sun, the time, and during the summertime and the winter time, and they will tell you the activity. Yeah, I'm done. Lastly, about the classroom structure, you can see this is learning by doing, where the children are taken to the farm. And then also harvesting is very important. So the children, what they do is they harvest the products, they bring the products, and they also sell. So they understand about marketing. And then here, the localized learning is so important. So the teachers, I've just put an image because I couldn't get the image of the local, local image. So the teachers, what they do, they get together, they bring the children together, and they cook and eat together, so they know more about the aspect. So I'm running short. There are many challenges which are faced here. Main thing is the transcription, because many of us do, many of the words are misinterpreted. So we do not know much about the transcription. Then we are very non-conversant. I was just talking about this during the lunchtime, that the rural area people, they are very shy. And they don't want to take out anything. If there's something which they want to speak, they would not speak. They're very non-conversant, so we need to come out of this. And that is actually just a few of the slides which I have to share. And I wanted to speak in general. I just wanted to talk about the indigenous curriculum, which is a very important part of our curriculum structure now at this point of time, so that we do not forget from where we come and from where we belong. So the attire that I'm wearing also, you can see, I could have worn a sari, but I said, no, I'll wear this so that they know where I come from and where I belong. So this is the way, we carry ourselves. We show the world from where we come and from where we belong. So if we, all of us do that, I think we'll exactly pinpoint and find out the person. So if we all gel together and become one, so then that way we do not know, we just know it's who are you, but we don't know from where you belong. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Professor Bindra. I had a lot of memories from Meghalaya. Those of you who have not visited Meghalaya, it consists of mainly three hills: Khasi Hills, Jaintia, Garo Hills. Khasi Hills are east and west Khasi Hills. So mainly these three tribes stay there: Khasi tribes, Jaintia tribes, and Garo tribes. Tura is a main campus of Nehu in Garo Hills, and the major campus on Shillong is on the East Khasi Hills. They have wonderful traditions, and I'm very happy that Bindra has presented some of them. Like most of us, you have heard of ethnobotany, but hearing of ethnomathematics itself is a pleasure. So thank you very much, Professor Bindra, and I hope that next time we will get more time to know more about the ethnicity, culture, and decolonizing the knowledge for our children. With this, we come to the end of this wonderful session, where we got some cultural experience, ethnicity, how to decolonize the knowledge. And now I hand over the mic to the organizers for next of the things.
जी, आप सबका बहुत धन्यवाद। और अब हम कार्यक्रम के अंतिम चरण में पहुंच चुके हैं, और यह समय है कि हम सभी वक्ताओं को, मंचस्थ सभी व्यक्तियों को एक छोटी सी स्मृति चिन्ह प्रदान करें। इस क्रम में मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूँगी प्रोफेसर रामकृष्ण प्रधान जी को कि वो इस सत्र के चेयर प्रोफेसर पी.के. वाजपेयी जी को स्मृति चिन्ह प्रदान करें। सर ने बहुत अच्छे से यह सत्र संभाला, बहुत व्यवस्थित तरीके से। हाँ, 2 सत्र, जी जी जी, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। प्रोफेसर आर.के. पांडे जी को मैं आमंत्रित करती हूं कि इस सत्र के को चेयर श्री ए.एम. दिवाकर जी को स्मृति चिन्ह प्रदान करें। डॉक्टर भास्कर शर्मा जी से मेरा अनुरोध है कि हमारे कार्यक्रम में उपस्थित प्रोफेसर जगदीश कुमार जोशी जी, डायरेक्टर MMTTC गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटी, सर को आप स्मृति चिन्ह प्रदान करें। प्रोफेसर संबित पाड़ी जी से मेरा अनुरोध है कि वो श्री जगदीश पटेल जी को प्रांत संयोजक स्वदेशी जागरण मंच को स्मृति चिन्ह प्रदान करें। प्रोफेसर मनोरमा जी से मेरा अनुरोध है कि वो आए मंच पर और प्रोफेसर पवित्रा भारद्वाज जी को स्मृति चिन्ह प्रदान करें। प्रोफेसर अनबू उदय शंकर जी से मेरा अनुरोध है कि वो प्रोफेसर वृंदा मैडम को स्मृति चिन्ह प्रदान करें। डॉक्टर सुबलदास जी से मेरा अनुरोध है कि डॉक्टर C सोमथा विंगफोसाई जी को स्मृति चिन्ह प्रदान करें। आप सबके प्रति हृदय से आभार और कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करती हूँ और बहुत संक्षिप्त सा धन्यवाद ज्ञापन मैं मंचस्थ सभी अतिथियों के प्रति, वक्ताओं के प्रति करती हूँ और अपने विश्वविद्यालय के यशस्वी कुलपति प्रोफेसर आलोक चक्रवाल सर के प्रति अपनी कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करती हूँ। इस सत्र को और यूँ कहें कि दोनों सत्रों को बेहद अच्छे तरीके से व्यवस्थित करने के लिए चेयर प्रोफेसर PK वाजपेयी सर, को चेयर श्री AM दिवाकर जी, प्रोफेसर जगदीश कुमार जोशी जी, श्री जगदीश पटेल जी, प्रोफेसर पवित्रा भारद्वाज जी, प्रोफेसर वृंदा जी और डॉक्टर C सोमथा विंगफोसाई जी, आप सब के प्रति इस मंच से अपने विश्वविद्यालय की तरफ से हम आपको धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करते हैं। बेहद धन्यवाद। अब यह सत्र यहीं समाप्त होता है। हम समापन सत्र की तरफ थोड़ी देर में आगे बढ़ेंगे।
मैं अपने सत्र के चेयरपर्सन और को चेयरपर्सन से निवेदन करूंगा कि हमारे इस सेशन के मॉडरेटर प्रोफेसर गौरी त्रिपाठी मैडम और बलदास जी को प्रमाण पत्र और मोमेंटो प्रदान करने का कसम। सर बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू वेरी मच। All speakers are requested to come on the dais for a photograph, group photograph. Please come on the dais.